Okay, so we are now live, and I'm going to tweet this this here stream out, and then we will get right into it because we have a whole fuckload of stories to get to, and I don't want to be staying up all night discussing them because most of the stories that unfortunately we're going to be covering tonight are dated, to say the least. There's none here that are really new, but that's because I haven't done one of these newscast streams in quite a while, so you're going to have to be forgiving of that. But I do have something to say about the articles that I saved, and it's why I saved them and decided, I have to stream about this and I have to talk about this, and I think it's worth talking about. The only exception was one link, which I actually revisited earlier today when I was working. And I sat there reading through the articles that I had, and I said to myself, you know what? I should really just do a full video on this, and I'm going to be looking into doing that. Man, there are so many fucking... those accounts that I follow for Asian images are really fucking good. The only downside is that one of them, and it's one that's like specifically for girls with small breasts, that wasn't intentional. It just was one of the accounts brought to my attention, so I subscribed to it, or followed it, I should say. And they keep tweeting out porn, just straight porn videos. And I wish they would knock that off a little bit because occasionally they'll tweet one out that's actually pretty good. There's been a couple that have been lesbian, and I have to say that it's hard for me to sort of say, like, don't do that. But the downside of it is I'd rather have just, girls in lingerie or even the occasional lewd image. I don't want straight porn on my timeline because occasionally I'm in public and that pops up and it's like, oh, man. I don't want people seeing that. But typically it's okay. I don't mind it. Anyways, let's get to this. So let me make sure that everything is actually working as it needs to. And we will just move forward. Oops, I think I clicked the wrong button. I think I did. What am I looking for here? I'm trying to get to the live chat, so I can get that open. Oh, here we go. I think that's the button I want to hit. And I got myself some Pepsi and is it Jim Beam? Bourbon? Whiskey bourbon, however you would say it. Okay, we're good now. So I will switch my screen to show you the stories that we're going to be going through. You to get through. So I won't be able to spend too much time on each story. But I think most of what I have here is worth talking about. And I guess because it's on screen right now, we'll talk about James Clapper. This is really a story about when Donald Trump tweeted really ominously that he was wiretapped by Obama. I was shocked by the claim, and I thought, well, he's got to be exaggerating. But rather than just give him the benefit of the doubt, what the media did is they piled onto Donald Trump and they said he lied. They said it over and over again. And I'm sure most of you realize by now, but the media suck. Journalists suck. They're all liars. All journalists are garbage. They're all liars. They're all unethical. None should be given any benefit of the doubt ever. They're all liars. Anyone that works for any mainstream outlet, assume they're lying, because 99% of the time, or something close to that percentage of the time, they will be lying, at least to some degree, whether it's lying by omission, lying based on deflection or obfuscation of the facts. They'll be lying because journalists lie. They all lie, regardless of where they're from. They all lie. And that's fine. We all realize that by now. I would say it's you got to be pretty normie to not realize that the media are garbage and they all lie. But one of the people I can't stand seeing is this gremlin, bald, this skinhead gremlin looking. Why is this page not scrolling down? Come on, Media, stop loading whatever the fuck you're loading and allow me to fucking do what I want to do. Swear to fucking God, these websites, man. It's because they have so many fucking ads. That's the fucking problem. Garbage fucking websites, man. I swear to God. Okay, so let me scroll down. So this goblin-looking fucker right here, Clapper. James Clapper is the former director of national intelligence. And the former director of national intelligence is an extremely important role in our government because they oversee every single one of our intelligence agencies, of which we have, I think, 17 officially, 17 fucking agencies. And James Clapper oversaw every single one of them. And one of the important ones that he oversaw was the NSA. And he also oversaw the CIA, which, as you all know and I say, is a rogue agency. It does whatever the fuck it wants. And most of the time, even if it does what it wants, it fucks up and does nothing. So I hate the CIA. I think they're worthless. That doesn't mean I think covert intelligence isn't worthwhile, but consistent failures of so-called covert intelligence is worthless. What's the point of even having it if it never works? If we never glean anything from it, ever. If it's just billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars wasted on consistent failures. I hate the CIA. But James Clapper oversaw, more importantly, the NSA. And one of the unforgivable things that James Clapper did was that he went in front of Congress and he was asked, is there mass surveillance on the American people perpetrated by the NSA? This was the Edward Snowden story. This is what he gave us. This is what we found out through Edward Snowden and WikiLeaks, that the NSA was doing mass surveillance on American citizens, that every American was under surveillance by the NSA to whatever extent. The tools that they were implementing was on a broad scale, not anything limited that could be overseen by any kind of secret court or actual court. Surveillance, blanket surveillance, with no probable cause, which is unconstitutional, illegal, etc. James Clapper went before Congress and he said over and over again that there was no mass surveillance, and that if there was any tiny sliver of extra surveillance that existed outside of the secret courts that they set up, the FISA courts, which are secret courts that they set up for these agencies to do whatever the fuck they do in terms of their investigations, that if there was anything that was extrajudicial, that it was just happenstance. It was just unwittingly was the word he used. Just, it was pure mistake. And as we all found out, James Clapper lied to Congress. He perjured himself. He knowingly lied. He was full of shit. He lied to the entire Congress, and every single congressman, every single senator, Republican, Democrat, Independent, got on their knees and sucked James Clapper's cock because they didn't do anything to bring charges against him. No one did anything. No one did. James Clapper got in front of fucking Congress, went, I'm a fucking liar. Fuck all you. Fuck the American citizenry. Fuck your civil liberties. I'm James Clapper, bitch. You know, that's what he did. And no one did a fucking thing about it. And that's why I hate him. That's why I'm glad he is now former Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, because he is a unethical, lying piece of shit that has no regard for American civil liberties, the Constitution, or anything else that we as citizens should hold sacred. He is a fucking authoritarian piece of shit and should be regarded as such by everyone. Anyone that regards this guy in any way or shows him any sign of respect is someone that is on their knees sucking his dick, because he is an unethical liar that perjured himself in front of Congress. He is a scumbag. And the only reason we know what went on that he oversaw is because of fucking leaks and because of fucking whistleblowers like Edward Snowden, that had to, he couldn't go through the proper channel, so he had to release this information. And now we know. Now we know that cocksuckers like James Clapper and everyone else that is like him lied. Lied to the American people, lied to Congress, lied to our representatives, lied to everyone involved, and then just got away with it clean. So James Clapper is a media darling. He is a pundit that every fucking outlet wants to have on, including, I think, Fox News. I believe I've seen him on there at least once. But he's on NBC all the fucking time. He's on CNN. He is on the major networks. Despite being an unethical fucking disgraced goddamn liar, he's still there because the bourgeois fuckers in our society, the elite, don't care. They have zero regard for civil liberties. That is one of the things that I have found in my lifetime, is that bourgeois people, upper middle class people, wealthy people do not fundamentally have no regard for American civil liberties. You can say that that's my bias, that's me being bigoted towards the rich, whatever. I don't care. That's been my experience. I've interacted with enough people in my life to say that I've met people that are rich, that are smart, that are business savvy, that are smarter than I am in every conceivable way, but on civil liberties, they are horrible, horrific, the most authoritarian, least liberal people, most moralizing fucking assholes, hypocrites. So many of them. And this is why he's a media darling, is because bourgeois fuckers don't care that he's an unethical piece of shit liar. The reason why I'm talking about him, other than the fact that I obviously can't stand him, is the fact that James Clapper was one of many people that went in the media and relentlessly called Trump a liar. Said over and over and over and over again that Trump is a liar. Trump is a liar. Trump is a liar. No one wiretapped him. We're all under surveillance, but somehow Trump wasn't fucking wiretapped. He wasn't under surveillance. Obviously not. Trump is just a liar. Well, months later, we find out, oh, hey, look, Donald Trump, to some extent, was under fucking surveillance. That people within his campaign were directly under surveillance. So, in part, they can't rule out that Donald Trump's own lines, because of who they were surveilling, weren't also tapped. They can't say that they weren't. So Donald Trump may have actually been himself under surveillance because there's no limitations on surveillance. If you're investigating someone directly tied to his campaign, who he's speaking to, you are surveilling Trump because there's no limitations. You take in all the information you can. That's the whole issue of dragnet surveillance. There's no limitations. It's everyone involved. So, and what's amazing is that after this was found out, that it could have actually been that specifically Trump was being investigated because of the proximity of the person that he was, the campaign member that was also being investigated. James Clapper comes out, and I don't know why this has to load a second time, and says, yeah, he probably could have been wiretapped. Trump himself could have actually been wiretapped. He could have actually been himself under surveillance because that's the fucking standard operating procedure of our intelligence agencies. There's no limitations. There's nothing stopping any fucking agent from saying, no, let's not also look into Trump. There's nothing stopping him because the courts aren't involved. This is what happens when you give agencies too much power. There's nothing preventing them from moving from one person to the next. There's nothing preventing them from doing that. Presidential candidate doesn't fucking matter. So long as there is someone that is even connected to them, their information can also be investigated, taken, looked at. This whole fucking apparatus that we have in this country is a insane violation, not of privacy, but of your personal effects. You have a constitutional right to your personal effects, to not be unjustifiably seized by authorities without probable cause. It requires that through a court in order for that to be seized. And this whole system is not actually implemented with that in mind. It is extrajudicial. It is not with the Constitution and with the courts giving them that authority. They're simply taking that information. And this is the thing. Am I against surveillance? Am I against, the feds and the government investigating crime and all the rest? Absolutely not. I'm obviously not. But the issue is it must comport with the fucking laws. It has to comport with the Constitution. You're not the courts. You're the investigative branches of the government. You don't have the authority to open investigations in this way and seize documentation, effects, data without a court saying so. You need the judge's approval in order for you to seize it. These are not enemy combatants. These are not foreign citizens. These are American citizens. They have rights. This is so fucking irritating. And no one in the fucking press is ever going to tell this goblin-looking motherfucker, like, listen, this is all because of you. This is all because of the last two administrations just completely shredding the fucking Constitution. And 0 Republicans, 0 Democrats, 0 independents the balls to actually consistently challenge this. People just say terrorism and everyone sticks their fucking thumb up their ass and just pretends like it's okay to operate outside of the U.S. Constitution. It's just fine. I understand that terrorism is oh so scary. I'm absolutely on board, and that's one of the videos I want to do is on terrorism and threats to national security. But the problem is I operate from the position that civil liberties come first because it is non-negotiable. Read the fucking Constitution. Read the goddamn case law. Operate within those fucking boundaries. And if you can't do that, get out of fucking law enforcement. It's amazing to me how many scumbag authoritarian cocksuckers, incompetent cocksuckers even, that are running these entire agencies. These agencies should be run by the most ethical people in our society because they are given a lot of power. They have power over so much of this, over our information, over our effects, and they consistently fuck up. Whether it's the CIA or anyone else, they consistently fuck up. And all this information is released online. Whether it's the CIA losing all that malware shit and all the damage that did and continues to do, or it's whatever else. Agencies having information leaked. The most ethical people should be running these agencies. And James Clapper is a national embarrassment. He should not be on television ever, other than, hey, let's talk to James Clapper as an example of an unethical piece of shit cocksucker that should be in a cell. He should be treated like Bernie Madoff, but he isn't, because bourgeois people in our society don't give a shit about civil liberties. They don't. That's been my experience. So we're going to move on before I get too fucking angry. Let's move to a bullshit story. Let's see here. No, that's not a bullshit story. Oh, okay. Here's a bullshit story. Okay. And I love it's because of Ashley Birch that this is the screen, because she and a bunch of other voice actors made such a big deal about this. So the Film Actors Guild and whatever AFTRA is struck a deal with the video game industry to get more money, in effect, and better treatment as they're recording lines in video games. And I can say that I am not against private sector unions. I can tell you that some of what they complained about is actually on the money here in terms of them having a problem with it. Because one of the things that the video game industry was doing was lying to the voice actors about what part they were playing. And the big two were One, they were lying about how loud they had to be, which is important because if you're like me and you're loud all the time, it's hard for me to lose my voice. It will happen eventually if I start screaming, but it's hard for me to lose my voice. I can be loud consistently every day if I wanted to. I'm sure eventually it would have certain effects on my health, but overall, it's not much of an issue with me. But that can't be said the same for everybody. And they were lying about that. They were lying about what they were going to actually be saying in these games. And people had in their mind, and they signed the contract thinking they'd be coming in talking at a normal pitch or maybe occasionally raising their voice, but they were having parts where they were going hours and hours and hours screaming at the top of their lungs, and that was not what was agreed upon before they signed the contract, but they didn't have any power to renegotiate. And that was one of the things that was renegotiated or negotiated specifically in this deal. The other thing that I can agree with, which is a problem that the companies themselves lied about, is some of these games would include lines where the voice actors would say specific things that within their own circles would be a big problem. If you as an artist said that I voiced in a game or I played a character in a movie and I said the word nigger, I would say, oh, what was the movie? You know, what did you do? That sounds interesting. You know, what character did you play? Were you a villain? That sounds cool. Because I have no problem with somebody playing a part, being an artist, and saying mean words. Because they're playing a fictional character. I'm not retarded, unlike so many people in our society, and can understand context. But within progressive circles, it makes sense that if you're going into the setting, being told that you're not going to say anything controversial, and instead you're saying the word nigger, and your name is attached to that character, I can understand that that may come back to haunt you. Again, in the context of you live in California or you live somewhere that is incredibly progressive, because those states and those cities and those areas and those circles are fucking retarded. So it makes sense to me, just on a practical level, that that's one of the things they negotiated. I'm sure that there's going to be people commenting right now mocking that fact. That it's like, wow, you said the word nigger and you were afraid of that and you had to make that something as part of this deal. That's how big of a deal it was for you. I understand it because that can cost you a career in this world. You have to understand that we live in a world where at a moment's notice, you can be on Twitter being mobbed, on Facebook being mobbed, on any social media platform being mobbed because you said something and someone took away the context of it. You know, someone took a video of mine, cut out some section of it where I say the word nigger or something, some other bad word. I say the word kike, and then they splice it together to make it sound I said something anti-Semitic. They dox my name. They dox my employer, and you have 100,000 people in a day contacting my employer on Twitter or wherever else, contacting them directly, saying the same thing over and over and over again. Fire Louis, fire Louis, fire Louis, fire Louis, fire Louis. And my company is going to cuck, and they're going to fire me. So that has real implications and a real effect in our society. If you ask me, I think that it is grotesque and awful to attack an artist for simply trying to apply their craft and to hold against them what is said as they're playing a character. To me, that's grotesque to do that. That's you trying to censor artists. You know, there's no difference between that and you walking up to a painter and taking the brush out of his hand. You know, whether you want to approach that from the position of this being crazy leftists in California, or you want to approach it from my angle where you are a fascist, you are someone that is trying to strip away freedom of expression. You know, either way is acceptable if you want to approach it from either way. But it's something that should be in our society and in the West unacceptable. That should be unacceptable to do. Not getting all, you know, not being butthurt because someone said a bad word and trying to destroy their life, but the opposite. You know, or I should say, I'm fucking this up. The position we should hold is that artists should be free to do whatever the fuck they want. If you're offended by something, such as an album you don't like, or a movie you don't like, or a game you don't like, don't buy it. Or if you don't like it, just say, hey, I didn't like this part. I wish they wouldn't do shit like this. and voice the opinion that way. Be a fucking adult about it. Don't try to destroy people's lives simply because you don't like the art they created. There are plenty of games that I think are cringy, progressive, dog shit games. And I was about to say I don't buy them, but I kind of do buy them. But that's because I'm an idiot. So I guess we'll move on from that story because I think we went a little bit too long with that one. So let's see here. I guess we'll go to this one next. Let me exit off from this. So this article went up on the 22nd of September. Again, these are pretty dated, but I can't imagine too many of you are aware of this article from The Intercept. Li Fang is somebody that, again, is like most journalists, where he's just terrible. I mean, I used to have a decent amount of respect for this guy. I've read articles by him that were very well done. I know he's capable of writing good articles, but again, this is just an article from him that's just not good. It's not good. It's an abomination. It's an abortion of an article, and he just goes full regressive in this article. So one of the things that you have to admit when you're discussing Europe is the fact that Europe right now is being invaded and, in effect, colonized by Muslims. I know people want to say Islamists and everything else, but it's like, no, it's Muslims. I know that that's a generalized statement, but I can make that statement and make it without any fear of considering myself to be a bigot, because I know that it is actually true. I can't be a fucking bigot if it's one group of people that are colonizing Europe, that are attempting to change it from within, and doing so very aggressively. It's not anyone else. It's not Buddhists. It's not the Jews. It's not anybody. It's the Muslims. And in Germany, that is exactly what they're doing. And the reason why there is a rise of the far right, quote unquote, in Germany, because I'm not German, I can't speak to their politics in terms of what is far right for Germans. Well, I can't actually. I think most of us can't actually imagine a far right Germany. But excuse me, with the AfD and the rising right in Germany, one of the things you have to concede is that there's a reason why the AfD is rising in Germany, why the far right is rising in Germany, in Greece, and fucking all of Europe. Name me a country in Europe where there's not a quote-unquote far right. UK, France, Spain. Just name me a single fucking country that doesn't have a far right on the rise, and I'll pick you a country that didn't bring in a shitload of quote-unquote migrants, of so-called refugees, which is just, again, North Africans and Muslims. That's why there is a rise in the far right. I am not on the far right, and I can tell you that one of the things that I take away from this is the only solution that I have to the issue of Muslims, and that is to not let them in. And I'm sorry, Li Fang, if that's offensive, but that's reality. And I know that you want to write these limp-wristed fucking articles where you blame it on fucking... He blames it on 4chan. He let me find it. I don't want to spoil it too much. Let's find it, because I'm pretty sure this is the article. I didn't read the whole thing again recently, but I think he actually said... I can't remember. I read an article by him where he... Actually, that may have been another article where he talks about Gamergate. Yeah, it might have been another story by him. Because I know it's a standard regressive thing is to just connect different things to things that don't matter at all. Like Gamergate has any connection to anything in Germany. But, yeah, this was a dog shit article. So one of the things that I actually flipped on, that I didn't actually believe in until I realized that this actually was something that was real. And somewhere in this article, he dismisses it, that there are so-called no-go zones in Europe. Certain nations like France and others, there's such a thing as no-go zones. And this is routinely dismissed by the regressive left. Oh, here it is right here. He dismisses it right there. This is a more recent story in Sweden, where they plan to deploy the military in Sweden to operate domestically. And the reason why they're doing it is to police no-go zones. I don't know if it's actually covered in the story or not, but one of the things that actually is coming out of this, and I'm not sure of what the city is, of where exactly it is in Sweden, but in this town or city, whatever it is, they tried to put in a police station in order to try to combat the insane amount of violence and crime that was coming out of that area. And they literally couldn't build a police station. They weren't able to build a new police station in order to combat crime. And so because of that, they now have to deploy the fucking military to act as military police on their own soil. As the French have done, by the way. The French have done the exact same thing. Now, I want all of you to just think, I want you to just put your hands in your head and really try to like stimulate your mind, stimulate that brain power, stimulate that gray matter. And I want you to think about this. If the United States imported a whole fuckload of Muslims, would it be different here? My answer, according to Occam's razor, is no, it would be the same shit. We'd have the same fucking problems. We'd be deploying the military to operate domestically, or the National Guard to operate within our own cities soon enough. Once the percentage of Muslims gets to whatever tipping point, that's when the military police will need to be deployed, because they'll then act as a fucking rogue entity, a rogue colony within our own country, as they are all throughout Europe. This is a massive issue. And I can't stand the fact that people on the left, especially the regressive left, continue to pretend as though that this isn't something they even have to acknowledge. This is something real. You want to talk about the far right in fucking Europe? This is why they're rising. This is why so many people all over Europe, including the UK, this is why Brexit happened. This is why all of this is happening. It's in part because the EU is an authoritarian dogshit entity, but it's also because, and this is because of the EU, that the Muslims are out of fucking control and they're not assimilating. They're doing the exact opposite. They're trying to make their new nations into their old ones, and they're using violence to achieve that. This is something that within, I want to say, the next 5 to 10 years, probably sooner to 5, if I'm being optimistic, I think that we are going to reach the point where this is going to be undeniable for everyone outside of the bourgeois elite. The media class, the rich people in our country, they will still deny this because they are in their own bubble. They are universally acting as a class in their own bubble. They are unreachable because they physically are unreachable. They're in their own fucking ivory tower. And we can't deal with them. They're just going to be dog shit, worthless people. And they'll never, never agree with us on this issue because we're the people living on the ground having to deal with these people. I had an interaction, in fact, the other day with 2 Muslim girls. And I almost tweeted it out, but I didn't. Because this is the kind of thing, again, where this is something that could be nitpicked at a later point if I'm ever, someone that matters. They can pick this off of me and accuse me of bigotry, although I won't give a shit whatsoever because it's true. It's my interactions. You can't deny the interactions I've had in my life. Every interaction in my life that I've had with Muslims has either been, and this is not specifically Arabs, anyone that's not white. This is specifically people that are religiously Muslim. It includes blacks and Arabs and anyone else that have interacted with, Asians. It's either been a neutral or a negative experience. I have never in my life had an experience with a Muslim person that was positive. Never. Not once. Never came close. It's either been an awkward, but basically neutral interaction or specifically negative. Rude, just pissy, mean, just ridiculous. And they always dress as Orthodox religious people. They never dress as you would recognize any other person. They're always dressed in fucking Islamic garb. Every single time I've had an interaction, that has been consistently true. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you. You know, I have just a random interaction with two Muslim girls. I'm perfectly nice to them. They blow me off completely. They're rude to me. They speak English because I had to speak to them, and they speak English, so I know they speak English, but they don't want to speak to me. Now, I can draw conclusions as to why I think that is, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to say, and, you know, chalk it up as another interaction with some Muslims that were fucking rude to me for no reason. And when people ask, you know, well, are you being bigoted towards them? No, these are the interactions I've had. If every fucking Muslim person I interact with is either awkward with me or just a fucking asshole, like, how do you expect me to see these people? Oh, well, you don't really know them. No, I do. Go to fucking Buffalo. I've met enough. I've met enough. They're always dressed in religious garb, and they have never been nice to me. I've had positive interactions, truly positive, good moments with every other person under the sun. I've had plenty of good interactions. I've had friends of every kind of background. And I mean that, from different classes, from different racial backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, religious backgrounds. I've had positive interactions with people where, you know, you would think of it. And that's where I derive my worldview of being an individualist, is that I know that most people in this world are good. They're not evil. They're not awful people. They're not criminal. They don't engage in deviant behavior. They're decent people. They're honorable people. They're honest people in large part, except for on petty, you know, issues. But the issue is that once you have enough interactions with a certain group of people, specifically in real life, you're meeting face to face with them, you eventually are going to start having a negative outlook of them. And the fact is that if you look around and all the people fucking shooting all the gays and running people down and torturing, and there's a story that just came out about some atheist blogger. It's like every other day an atheist blogger's getting their head cut off and all this shit. It's like, where do you think people's negativity fucking derives from? It's because you think they stuck their head in a fucking sandbank and are looking around them? No, it's because they are. It isn't just 9/11. It's been everything since then. That's when people actually started looking around and were like, hey, you know, there's a lot of Muslims around and some of them are okay, but there's a lot of them that are shit. And maybe they should stop acting that way. Stop believing they're backward shit. And they refuse to do so. That's on them. They want to believe what they want to believe. They want to reject everything it is to be a Western civilized person. Fine. Don't come to the West. That's my solution. Become a civilized human being and then come here. Everyone else manages to do it. So think of all the people that have come from backward societies, come to this society and changed, assimilated perfectly. Think of how many fucking people from different countries all over this earth that have done that successfully. And look at Muslims and see how often they fail on the most basic things. It isn't bigotry, it's reality. It is what they continue to do. Until they change, I'm not going to change my opinion. You can call me whatever the fuck you want to. It's staying the same so long as they stay consistently the same at a general level. And if you are listening to this and you're a Muslim from Buffalo, you run into me, don't act like an asshole. I'm nice to every stranger I run into in large part. Even when on a bad day, I'm nice to people. And yet, this is the thing I consistently run into. I run into somebody, I'm nice to them, they're an asshole to me. And, you know, I'm getting off track, but it's just, it's something I run into, especially with Muslims. They're mean, needlessly rude, standoffish by default. And it's like, listen, especially in like the service industry, it's like, man, why are you even fucking working here? You know, I interact with people in the service industry every fucking day. And 9 times out of 10, they're either okay, decent, neutral, or pleasant with me. Why is it specifically Muslims in the service industry specifically that are all fucking rude? But whatever. We'll move on from there. And we're not really moving into anything better than what we're leaving. We're moving to this issue on DACA, which is deferred action for childhood arrivals. And I'm not going to really get into the weeds of this issue, but I can tell you that I understand the practical argument from this, from people that are extremely short-sighted and are overwhelmed by feelings rather than practicality and philosophy and understanding the real danger this kind of thing poses, and why, regardless of whether it was a Democrat or, you know, Ronald Reagan or whomever, amnesty is not a good idea, and we should not be doing it. It should be a practice that we put to an end. Because I'm not really sure if people have noticed, but if you look at the population of the United States, it has exploded in the last 100 years. We've gone from, I'd have to look it up, it was like 120 something years ago, we were at 100 million, maybe like right around that number. And within another 100 years, we had grown to 300 million, over 300 million. So we tripled the population of this country. The population of this country has exploded in a way that seems unfathomable, but it has. And a lot of the people that have been brought into this country, I spoiled it, but a huge portion of that population growth has been wave after wave of immigrants. My issue with this is not that we have immigration, because I'm fine with immigration, but it's the waves. The year after year, the consistency of bringing in millions of new people, new immigrants. It's ridiculous. And I don't want to spoil it because I have an answer to why this is happening. But this is something that Trump campaigned on specifically against. One of the big things Donald Trump campaigned against was the fact that immigration in this country is an issue. And I can tell you that this has been one of the issues that in the last 8 years or so that I have been deeply saturated in politics on a daily basis. This has been one of the issues where I have moved dramatically on. This is an issue that people on the right, conservatives, and Donald Trump included in that, this is an issue that I have been convinced that I was previously wrong about and that I should be deeply concerned about. And I'll explain in a second here why that is, and on the philosophical side and the constitutional side. But as it relates to amnesty specifically in this instance with DACA, it's not a good policy. I understand the feelings behind it, but it's not a good policy. One of the big things that Donald Trump, and I already talked about this in a previous stream, that one of the things that he wants to get rid of is chain immigration. That isn't included in this deal, that as far as I know since September hasn't moved forward. Maybe I missed it, but as far as I know, it hasn't gone anywhere. Donald Trump made his big stump speech about this, did a whole big press event about it, and a lot of people said that he sounded pretty much like Nancy Pelosi, and it's because he did. It sounded like somebody that, you know, it's like the fucking cockroach from Men in Black. Like somebody killed Donald Trump and put on his skin. It was insane to be watching the shit that he was saying. So I'm not alone in this. Ben Shapiro talked about this on his podcast at length. I listened to that. He also wrote a kind of a shitty article about it. And he pretty much said this is a terrible deal, insane for Donald Trump to be doing, that it makes no sense. This is not going to help him. He shouldn't be doing it. There's also some arguments, laying it out that are a bit more complex, but we're not going to go into that because it's kind of an old story. If it comes up again, maybe we'll talk about it then. But Ben Shapiro went into it to that degree in terms of the politics, but the only real conservative that I saw that was laying out the real case of how dangerous this was, not just in this one instance, but to continue the degree of immigration that we currently have, and the real issues of chain migration and amnesty, and the issues of what this could lead to. The only person I saw talking about this at any real level was Tucker Carlson, the only fucking person. And from him, others as well, but specifically, as I am now, citing Tucker Carlson. And it's amazing to me that somebody who I had no regard for, 2009, 2010, someone that I thought was a joke, Tucker Carlson. It's amazing to me that on immigration now, Tucker Carlson is one of the smartest people. Tucker Carlson is one of the real voices of reason on immigration. And it's because he is actually laying out. And unfortunately for Tucker Carlson, as a host, as a commentator, as a conservative pundit, he isn't great. I mean, he does a lot of stupid shit. And one of the things I can't stand about him is in his segments, he props himself up against guys that are really soft targets. And he calls them back on the show over and over and over and over again. It's like, if you wanted to, Tucker, you could put yourself up against somebody who's a hard target. And on occasion, he does do that. But a lot of times, he has this revolving gallery of retards that he just knocks over. And it's like, well done, Tuck. Good job. You had this guy on again. He's a retard. Again, you give some talking points and you defeat him. That's great. Thanks a lot. And when he doesn't do that, he has to then challenge himself intellectually and actually puts forward a decent argument. If you ask me, Tucker Carlson should agree to do a specific number of segments on his show that are anywhere from like 10 to 20 minutes in length. Bring on people that are hard targets and then debate them. Because he can beat them. He can win those arguments. He just has to actually have somebody on that is intellectually challenging. If he has on fucking retards, it's not actually an intellectual win. He can't actually make the argument that he needs to be right. He just points out that they're fucking retarded. And terrific. You're the one that invited them on the show, you idiot. So regardless of my criticism of him and what he does on his show, he's right about this whole issue. And we're going to move into what the real danger is in this. And we'll get to that in a second. So, again, Tucker Carlson has been really good on this outside of him going up against weak targets. So this is an interesting story that I saw that is not in its legitimacy. The polling that they did isn't perfect, and this is about to play. Hold on.
Finding buyers for your
fuck off with your ads. The USA Today tried to get in contact with as many congressional representatives as they could to see what they had to say about the border wall funding. And this is Trump's wall, build a wall, all that shit. They tried to see if they could talk to Republicans in Congress and also Democrats to see where they stand on the border wall. And again, this isn't perfect polling. I'm trying to see if they have a chart. Okay, so they have a chart. So this is the thing. Do you support $1.6 billion approved by the House to begin construction of Trump's border wall? In the Senate, you have 69 yes. It's a House and a Senate. You have a decent portion of Republicans in the House saying yes. A really small number of senators saying yes. Obviously, a lot of Democrats saying no, a couple Republicans saying no, one Republican senator saying no, and one independent. It might have been like Bernie Sanders. And then you have a bunch of did not response. The big issue is this one. This is a very weird thing. And they go into to say that they asked them, they spoke with a representative, and they declined to say yes or no. And and if you're a Democrat, it means a lot less. I doubt most of them can be flipped because it would be something they would be immediately attacked on by progressives. But as it relates to all these declined to answer Republicans, which are the majority, and the ones that didn't respond, it really begs the question, why not? You know, these two Republicans had the balls to say no. why didn't you say shit? Why not? And their answer in the numbers they came to, which again are perfect, but it's right around 25%. Less than 25% of Republicans in Congress endorsed specifically or answered that they would endorse the funding beginning construction of it. Now, if we take this at its worst, which I'm just going to do this for the sake of my argument because the numbers aren't perfect here, as I've said multiple times. If we take this at its worst, there must be a reason, because Trump campaigned on this and he was elected. Republicans campaigned on this and they were elected. I don't know if people have noticed this, but the Republicans control both houses of Congress and the White House. If they wanted to, they could just do this. But they haven't started. They haven't done anything. And there are a lot of Republicans that aren't answering their fucking phones, and even when they aren't saying shit about this. Again, the direct yeses is, if we scroll down, is very small. Look at all of these fucking people that said no or declined to answer or didn't respond whatsoever. Look at how few said yes. This is something that Trump said again and again, screamed at the top of his lungs, and Republicans barely in any way are even saying yes. Now, the issue with conservatives that I find is whenever you have an issue and you have a conservative, and the conservative doesn't do what the other conservatives want that conservative to do. They see this conservative, they see the conservative not acting as a conservative, and the conservatives look at that and they go, aha, he's a leftist. That's what the answer is. That's what it is. Anytime a conservative sees another conservative not doing what a conservative should be doing, or what they believe a conservative should be doing, they assume that he's actually a closeted leftist. And while I'm sure that maybe that's true in the rare circumstance, I want conservatives, I'm going to hold your hand. So I know some of you conservatives that listen to me especially are woke on this, so I'm not denying that there aren't conservatives that understand where I'm going to go with this, but I want some of you conservatives to say, no, Louis, you're wrong. They are secret fucking leftists. I want you to hold my hand, okay? Hold my hand right now. Take my hand, and I want you to keep an open mind. Okay, ready? Ready? You got me. You're holding my hand in a firm grasp. Okay. Now, we're going to go to this. Now, I know that you think that every Republican in Congress is a leftist, but I want you to just keep an open mind and think to yourself, why do the largest companies in America also support the legislation? Why do the largest corporations who pay people in Congress millions of dollars to act in a certain way, why wouldn't Republicans do what conservative voters want them to do? Is it because they're all leftists? Or and I keep holding my hand, or is it because they are paid to do what corporations want them to do because it directly impacts and helps massive multinational corporations? Now, I understand that many of you agree, or a certain portion of you agree, that with Ben Shapiro, that money is free speech, but one of the direct consequences of that free speech that used to be known as bribery is that corporations can free speech your politicians to not do what you want them to do, and there's nothing you can do about it from your fucking worldview. You can scream at the top of your lungs and elect the most fucking retrograde conservative you can find if they are purchasable because they're acting on ideology and not principles. They will be bought. They will be bought. Keep my hand. Hold my hand. They will be bought. They will be free speeched, as Ben Shapiro would put it. There's nothing you can do from your worldview to counteract that. As I have said before, and I've just said, there are conservatives that listen to me that are fully aware of this problem. That with conservatives, and obviously with progressives, and you hear me every day screaming about NGOs, so don't give me this shit that I'm not saying this about the left as well. with the right, you guys have a serious flaw in your worldview, and you have no answer to it. You have no answer to the massive multinational corporations in this country buying Republican representatives. You keep electing people that are these inarticulate fucking retards, from my standpoint, Bible-thumping idiots, and they don't do shit. They'll get up there and go, oh man, I hate abortion, and then they don't do anything. That's great. I'm pro-gun and anti-abortion, and they don't do shit. One of the reasons why that is because you haven't factored this big fucking glaring issue. You haven't factored into your worldview. You haven't done that. I am absolutely in favor of capitalism, but one of the things that you need to actually bring into your worldview is the fact that investors and corporations are not acting on your best interest. They are acting on the interest of themselves. Investors want a return on their investment. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about this country. They don't give a fuck about citizenry. About citizenship, the citizenry, the Constitution. They want money. They don't care about your worldview. They don't care. I've said this throughout my time on this channel, that one of the real problems we have in this country is the fact that American corporations act as some kind of fucking third party. They see themselves as something that they should have status in this country above that of citizens. That was the whole big thing with the TPP, which Trump admittedly helped defeat, or if not outright defeated on his own right, or on his own action. This is a real problem. And with corporations, they're not letting it go. And with the left, as cancerous as they are, the progressives at least mouth the words to say that they can't stand this. They phone in the fact that they're so-called socialists or what the fuck ever. You know, the left is shit. But the issue is that on the right, I'm not on the side that's saying corporations are people too. Conservatives have to own this. They have to own the Mitt Romneys of their side. They have to own the fact that there's a lot of corporatists on the left, but there's just as many on the right, and they go unaccounted for. There are people that help push corporatists that are on the right into Congress that are going to say, oh, I'm against abortion and I'm in favor of guns, but I'm not going to do shit on immigration. I would rather that the corporations had more rights than you, even though they're fictional entities that should have no rights. They should have rights, and they should have more rights than you, and we're going to set up fucking corporate courts that are above that of our Constitution. Got to remember that Donald Trump may have actually defeated the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and Obama may have been the cheerleader for it, but don't give me any shit to say that Mitt Romney wouldn't have been right alongside him doing the exact same fucking thing. And that Mitt Romney is a decent portion of the right. A lot of fucking people in this country are people like Mitt Romney, and they are conservatives. Don't tell me, oh, they're all leftists. No, you own it. You own it. There are a lot of corporatists on the right. And you can point your finger at the left. I'm going to point my finger right back at you and say, look at your side. You can't just dismiss them as leftists. You have to own the fact that you have no answer to this. I've seen conservatives, Tucker Carlson and others, say and admit to that this has been a blind spot on the right, especially on Silicon Valley, which they talk about in this fucking article. Because guess what? It's Silicon Valley, it's Wall Street, it's all the corporations, you idiots. It's all of them. It isn't just the leftist fucking retards at Apple and at fucking Facebook and all the rest. It's also Wall Street. They're also acting against you. You're gonna eventually, I hope to be the fucking asshole on the left, the everyman leftist that is going to awaken the right, that is going to get all of you conservatives that listen to me woke. I know many of you are, that listen to me are already woke. I'm going to awaken the right. on this issue. I'm going to show you that investors in this country, the investor class, act as a fucking class that are not concerned whatsoever about the things that you are concerned about. They are concerned about their return on their investment. They don't give a shit about this country. They don't give a shit about anyone, including you, except for those within their own circles, their own fucking community, their own gated communities. They don't give a shit about anything. They are the most authoritarian and regressive and ridiculous in terms of their utopian beliefs out of anybody. They're disconnected from the working class, regardless of what politics that working class person has. They're completely disconnected to them. And if they're given the choice and getting a larger dividend and burning the fucking U.S. Constitution and turning this country into into the Titanic and ramming it into the fucking iceberg until we're all dead and under the fucking Atlantic all together, they will do it. They will do that. They will fuck over everyone. They will fuck the country, and they will eventually fuck themselves because they don't care. They want the money now. They want a short-term game. They don't care about anything beyond the money that they can get in the next 24 hours. That is their fucking worldview. Because the real danger, and the reason I'm saying this as strongly as I'm fucking saying it, is because of shit like this, where you have institutions within our nation attempting to give non-citizens legal rights. They're attempting to give non-U.S. citizens the ability, they already have the ability to go to high school and get an education. They already have that. That's already been guaranteed by the fucking Supreme Court in a ridiculous fucking case, which eventually maybe I'll go through and show. It's a fucking ridiculous case. Non-U.S. citizens already have the right to an education. They're trying to give them the right to stay here without any agency being able to eject them from this country because they're not supposed to be here unless they are legally permitted to be here. You have to be permitted in order to be here. And if you stay here too long, you try to work, you try to get an education without the government say so, without our representative government saying so, you're ejected. But this is the thing, and I'll showcase this. Fucking Plastic Andy, which I hope to make a nickname for Andrew Cuomo, Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York, who's I call him that because he did a press conference here, and it's past this ad, so we're not going to watch it. But every press conference Plastic Andy gives, he sends out newsletters through his staffers to try to get unions and activist groups and groups that are sucking up to him for power and money. He sends out news messages or newsletters to get people to show up to his speeches. And I can tell you this for a fact because I have had my own family pressured to go to events because they're Democrats and because my father belongs to a labor union and he's close to the people in the upper echelon of it. The people from the union are pressured to get their own members and to get their own families to show up to Andrew Cuomo's events. I've never once had any pressure from anyone or ever been talked to from my family about what, this kind of pressure. It's never been from any other politician ever. Never once. I'm sure it's happened, but I've never had it where every other day I talk to my dad and it's like, yeah, we got pressure again from fucking, downstate or Albany to show up to X, Y, and Z event. They're telling us to go X, Y, and Z here. And this is why I say Plastic Andy. No one likes him. No one fucking likes Andrew Cuomo. No one likes him. It's why he almost lost his fucking primary to Zephyr Teachout, who is a insane liberal professor from downstate. She's nice and she has some decent, beliefs and she doesn't appear to be corrupt. But unfortunately, she operates on ideology and can be corrupted. Because if you operate on principle, you're a lot harder to corrupt. And I've talked about this numerous times, but if you operate on an ideology, you can be bought in a second because there's nothing beneath you that's grounding you as an individual to a set of core beliefs. You just have an ideology that you're pandering to. But that's besides the point. Plastic Andy is unpopular. And one of the things that he is risking in New York is the fact that New York agencies can't inquire about immigration status. So this is limited. This is not as far-reaching as some of the shit that's coming out of California and other states, as far as I can tell. But this is obviously something that I don't agree with, because it's like, okay, here's just the basic idea. You find somebody who's here illegally, that's a human trafficker, that's a drug trafficker, that's a smuggler of whatever. If you can possibly get them based on the fact that they're here illegally, why would you not do that? Why would you instead have to go through the entire process of trying to prove that they're actually doing some kind of criminal behavior before you can fucking throw them out of this country? Because they shouldn't be here. They shouldn't be here. They're not paying taxes. And if they are, it's shit like sales tax, which everyone fucking pays. The tourists pay it. Does that make them a fucking U.S. citizen? No. So the whole sanctuary city thing is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous fucking thing. And the fact that the guy is trying to make this fucking, without, just based on executive order, this is not passed through the state legislature, which it never would, because the conservatives, the Republicans specifically, control either the House or the Senate, I forget which. This was never passed because no one fucking wants this outside of the fringes of the left and the corporatists. So you ask me, why does Andrew Cuomo do this? And I just answered the question. The fringe of the left wants it so he can pander to them, but more importantly, the corporations want it. They want cheap labor. They want to blow up the labor pool full of illegal immigrants so that way they can pay me less. Obviously, my job's a bit different and has scrutiny to it, but overall, if I'm desperate for a job, it's harder for me to then ask for more money from my employer when they could just say, well, there's some other desperate people out there. It benefits the corporations and solely them. And like I say, there are some woke conservatives, but there are plenty enough conservatives that are weak on this issue. But, I don't know what to do. The left is just engulfed in corporatism. I mean, there was a whole big thing recently that I'm not going to do an article on, but apparently the Democratic Party purged a bunch of progressives. They just threw them all out and ejected them basically from the party itself. And, just on the face of it, I'm not against throwing out progressives because I don't like progressives and I'm not a progressive myself. But the problem is that the people replacing them are unequivocally corporatists. It's just corporatists replacing them. So it's not going to fucking help the party when instead of having ideologues, you have fucking completely just deviant, scummy fucking corporatists who, again, like have no regard for anyone outside of, okay, what am I getting out of this? Where's my money? Where's my free speech? Come on, give me that free speech. That's their concern. And it's obviously not going to help the fucking party. It's not going to fucking help the left. And I say this every day, and you'll see videos in the future about that. But, that's the overall issue. And so this actually failed. But it actually failed by a mistake, by a technicality. It failed. This is not going away. And this is one of the things that I was leading to before that Tucker Carlson has been talking about and actually making a good point of, are the dangers of why would you give rights to non-citizens? And what actually separates a non-citizen from a citizen then? If you get here to the country, are you then a citizen? Because you either are or aren't. There's no third party in this. There's no third option. And the fact that they have continued to try to create this, and I've pointed to issues in the past where, you see collective rights as something that's actually rising. And you even have civil libertarians, alleged groups like the ACLU pushing for shit like that. It's incredibly dangerous. It's incredibly dangerous because what you're doing is you are destroying the fabric of the Constitution. Every time the Supreme Court rules and has some collective right outcome, you're watching the disintegration of the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution is based on individual rights. It has never been anything other than that. Country, rights have been prescribed as individual. That's what the U.S. Constitution is about. It's not granting government power. It's enumerating the rights citizens have, most of which are protections from the fucking government. That's the U.S. Constitution. And the minute you start including collective rights, what you're then doing is undermining the value of individual rights. And eventually what you're going to have happen is you're going to have all these different collective rights that the government is going to have to fucking balance or attempt to. And guess what? You're just going to give the government more power in that sense. It's not good. That's not how the country should operate. And the founders fucking knew it 200 goddamn years ago. 300 fucking years ago. They knew this. They realized this. They realized the issue. They could have made this a collective rights fucking country, just like France. They didn't do it. Enumerated individual rights. The first fucking thing they did after the fucking Constitution was ratified. Was it 1791? First fucking thing they did was the Bill of Rights. Immediately following, because they knew it was wrong. They fucked it up. They immediately had to pass the Bill of Rights. They did it. Why didn't they pass collective rights? Oh, that's right, because they're garbage and they knew it wouldn't work. So they passed individual rights instead. And guess what? For 300 fucking years, it's worked. Until now. Until now that we just want to throw it all away. For what? Ideological bullshit and money for corporations. That's the answer. So we're going to move on. So this is going to be a short article that I'm going to cover because I was going to read it, but it's not worth reading. So Jack Markell is the former Democratic governor of Delaware. And he was governor for quite a while. Most of the time, I was in college, so right after my graduation, all the way until now, he was governor of Delaware. One of the things he did in his tenure as governor was give millions of dollars in subsidies to corporations for years. You know, practically not 10 years, but 7, 8 years. Just that was his economic plan, was to give subsidies to corporations in the form of tax breaks and everything else. And then following that, after he left office in January, I don't even know if he lost or not. I don't really care. I don't really pay much attention to Delaware politics, but he left office and then wrote this op-ed in September for the New York Times. And I agree with this article. I agree that we should not be doing what we are currently doing with U.S. corporations, in that we are attempting to subsidize them into staying in the United States, all the while having nothing more than an open door policy of if you want to stay, you can stay, but if you want to go, you can go, and there's nothing really we can do about it. This is the effect of globalization. And this is the issue with our trade agreements with other nations, is that we have nothing to prevent corporations, especially now where we have every corporation being essentially a monopoly or near monopoly, whether it's telecommunications, social media, fucking everything. Everything. Cereal, for Christ's sakes. Pop. Everything's a goddamn monopoly or close to it. And guess what? They're big enough to where they can just go overseas, and then and it's cheap to transport shit back. There's no real reason to stay here. That's not their incentive structure. They operate based on money. There's no ethics. There's no, these are the corporations and banks. These are the fucking people that, when they can get away with it, defraud their own clients, their own fucking customers, and launder money for cartels and terrorist organizations. Corporations are amoral. They're out to make money. They don't give a shit how they get it. They're there to get money. They're there to give their investors dividends, the biggest ones they can, to justify staying at in the board of directors. That's what they're concerned about. And anything they do that's bad, PR. That's it. That's all corporations are. And when they get big, I don't know if anyone's noticed, when they're big, they're always corrupt. they're always terrible. They're always awful. Name me a single corporation that's massive, that's near monopoly, that is in any way moral or decent or defensible in any way. Name me one. I don't think there is one. Any of the ones that you can think of that aren't awful and doing evil criminal acts, acting deviantly just out of necessity, just because, hey, we're here to make money. I don't give a fuck about your laws. I'm here to make money. I don't care if I have to launder money for fucking cartels and terrorist organizations. I don't give a shit. Are you going to pay my investors dividends? I don't think so. The ones that aren't like that are like Starbucks, are like Google, are like Silicon Valley corporations, which are awful, which are corporations guided by a totalitarian ideology. Those are the ones that aren't amoral. They're just immoral. So, yeah, I'm not a fan and I'm not a sycophant to corporations. And the problem, and the reason I talk about this article, is not because I agree with a lot of what he's talking about here, what he's highlighting, how much of an issue this is. This isn't actually helping this situation, and it exposes the real issue with our trade policies. That everything's so fucking set up to incentivize leaving the fucking country that they have to entice corporations to stay by handing them taxpayer money or giving them next to no taxes to stay wherever the fuck they are. This has been a big thing in New York as well. Andrew Cuomo is famous for just handing billions of dollars in credits and everything, just building companies for them, building their own buildings, and then just having them inhabit them for free. This is a direct effect of our trade policy. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because it only matters to bring this up. Governor Jack Markle, it only matters to bring this up when you're in office. This is very easy to say now that you're no longer governor. Now that you no longer have anything to lose, you say this. It would have mattered a lot more if you were saying this at the top of your lungs as governor of Delaware while governor of Delaware. It doesn't matter now. I agree with you. Great. That's awesome. The great op-ed in the New York Times. You hold no power. Thanks. So that's the reason why I talk about this. This is a quick one. So in the last time I talked about the issue of Betsy DeVos getting rid of the guidelines or the letter through the Barack Obama administration, whatever the fuck it was called, Title IX, the letter that expanded that, I believe it was. I don't think it's just Title IX; it's the expansion of it. I said that she was planning on doing it, but she actually did it. So this is that article. She actually pulled the trigger on it, and now it's been implemented. So the former guidelines have now been repealed, and the old rules are in effect as far as I can understand it. So hopefully this starts to have some kind of impact on our college campuses in the United States, and maybe men will actually go there and not fear for having their lives ruined. I guess we can make this a quick article as well, because I don't really want to continue on for too long, because I'm kind of exhausted from reading through these fucking awful articles. But this is just part and parcel of fucking Washington, where Trump asked for some stupid amount of fucking money to put on the defense budget, which is ridiculous. It was like 600-something million. Trump asked for, it was like 90 or 65, whatever the fuck he asked for. And it was just, I was sitting there reading it, and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. He doesn't even have a reason why he wants it. It's not even like the Pentagon was like, hey, Trump, yo, bro, we need this fucking extra 50 billion, 60 billion for fucking something. I don't know. We're going to send it to the desert and burn it. I don't know what the fuck we're going to do with it. It's not even like they did that. He just did it. He's like, yeah, we need more money. No one really told me, we just need more money. So they kicked it to the Congress. And what does the Senate do? They give him more money. They say, okay, that's great, Trump. We're even going to increase it further to $700 fucking billion. And I don't even know if they ever voted this, approved of this or not. Oh no, the Senate passed it, but I don't know if the House ever passed it. I'd have to look this up because I haven't heard anything about Trump signing off on it yet. I don't think he ever did sign off on it yet. But the issue is that I am not somebody, obviously, if you've heard me rant about foreign policy in the past, I am not somebody that says we shouldn't have a very large defense budget. But the problem is that you have to fucking justify it. You can't just come up with these proposals for hundreds of billions of dollars and not justify any of it. It's so flippant. It's just like, yeah, we need $50 billion. Oh, sorry, you mean 50? How about 100? Well, for fucking what? For fucking what? I mean, this is the thing about, again, about, I don't want this stream to be just me shitting on Republicans, but Jesus fucking Christ. Where are the fucking conservatives saying, oh, what about the deficit? What about the debt? Okay, you have a Republican fucking Congress passing a $700 billion Pentagon bill that they don't even bother justifying. Where's fiscal fucking responsibility when it comes to hundreds of billions of dollars, the majority of the fucking budget, when they don't even see what it's for, when the Pentagon isn't even asking for it? How do you justify this? The deficit is huge. The fucking debt is the worst it's ever been. Every fucking day of Barack Obama's administration, I heard conservatives day and night bitching about the deficit, bitching about the debt every fucking day. Where are you? Where the fuck are the fiscal conservatives now that Republicans hold the offices? Where are you? I'm not saying we can't have $400 billion or $500 billion, but you have to fucking tell anyone what the fuck you're spending it on. I've said this again and again. The Pentagon isn't transparent. They don't say to anyone what they're doing with the fucking money. The only thing they ever come out with is news about, hey, we lost $1 billion here, $10 billion there, $100 billion there, $1 trillion there. We just lose money. We don't know where the fuck it goes. It could be going to Al-Qaeda's hands. We don't know. We don't know. And what does Trump do? We need to give them more money. What does the Republicans in Congress do after they're done talking about how Barack Obama was such a tax and spend fucking Democrat? They just spend more money. I'm sorry, conservatives. I know that there are conservatives good on this, but I swear to fucking God, it's just one of the things that annoys me so much about conservatives is just the fucking insane hypocrisy on, oh, Democrats tax and spend. Oh, Democrats just want your money. Democrats, look at, they're blowing up the debt and the deficit. Democrats, Democrats, Democrats. Well, now you have all the fucking power. You have all the institutions that you could conceivably have. State houses, Congress, fucking White House. What do? Tax and spend. Suck my dick with your fucking leftists want to tax everybody. Suck my dick. Fiscal conservatives. Suck my dick. You're full of shit. I don't hear anyone complaining about this from the right. You know, I complained about this bill in at least 3 separate fucking streams. 3 streams I've complained about this. Yet all the fiscal conservatives are where, I don't know where they went. I don't know where they went. They're in the fucking, they're in the boards in our house. They're under the floorboards waiting for a Democrat to win office. Then they'll come back. That's when fiscal conservatives come back, is when a Democrat wins. Then they bitch for fucking 8 years. Okay. I guess we'll run through this fairly quickly. So this is a story out of Breitbart, which is actually very true. And it's just a quick article talking about the fact that YouTube is what the fuck? YouTube is effectively destroying their platform. They're essentially Twittering themselves. And this to me, I know for a lot of people it's going to be, well, duh, but it's like, no, this is actually worth talking about. That because of what YouTube is doing, they're actually worsening their platform. They're actually making their platform less viable as a platform for content creators to make money off of. They're doing worse as a business because of this. And one of the immediate reasons why is, if it'll load, this is you have fucking illiberal, limp dick, cocksucker, like people have no regard for civil liberties, people that can fucking all go against the wall and get shot for all I'm concerned. People that expect these corporations to be working with the NSA and people like James Clapper, who I was ranting about earlier. They want the merger of the state and the corporation in order to combat mass shootings that are freak occurrences where we still, months later at this point, I think it's like, or maybe earlier in the month, I guess, practically over a month. We still don't even know the first fucking thing about why this guy fucking did it, as far as I know. We still have no idea why this guy did it. And yet, this guy had nothing that would have been picked up to say that he was going to do this. As far as I can tell, I've seen nothing to say that anyone had any idea that this guy was going to do it outside of his fucking girlfriend, maybe. And yet we need to give more power to Google and Facebook to spy on us. We need more data collection from Google and Facebook to give to our government, to just hand directly to our government. Bypass the courts altogether, just give it to the government. For what reason? I have no idea, but I know that I think it's going to help me because I want to censor people. That's what this is. That's. You want me to read this whole article? Here's the too long didn't read. I hate the right wing. Everyone's right wing but me. I want to censor everyone until they all agree with me. There you go. Summarize this article. And I think that I'm going to give, more power to a Republican Congress, and somehow that's going to help me because I am a fucking retarded regressive. So now we move on to fucking Puerto Rico, which I had a shitload of people ask me to talk about. And I don't want to talk about Puerto Rico. I don't want to talk about it. Because it enters a can of worms, it opens a can of worms, to the whole issue of whether or not Puerto Rico is a colony, and whether they are territory that we unjustly control. So a few years ago, I would have said that we should have made Puerto Rico a state, but my position has changed on that. And I would say that despite Puerto Rico generally wanting to become a state in terms of the people there, and I have to accept the fact that they are U.S. citizens, I don't think that Puerto Rico would fit within the United States in terms of being a state. Puerto Rico, from what it appears to be, is like a fucking third world nation, practically. I know it's not as bad as obviously some, but one of the big things that came out of this hurricane was the fact that once they were hit, they were completely helpless. And still to this day, as far as I know, they have no power. It's like 80, nearly 90% of Puerto Rico is without power. How long has it been? September 26th. That's how long it's been, a month. And you still have no power? Why not? And the answer to why not is that they're a third world nation, practically. Their infrastructure is practically something you'd see out of fucking Iraq. It's a joke. And when they get hit by a hurricane, it hits them really hard because they don't have the infrastructure to build it all back. They don't have it. So the whole thing with Puerto Rico is that, if we were to make it a state, it would effectively be a state that is, let me look it up on a map to show you guys. Yep, here it is. Let me go to maps to show you where Puerto Rico is. Okay? That's where Puerto Rico is. Okay? That is pretty fucking far away. And I realize that we have plenty of territory all over the world, to a certain extent. But to the effect of whether this is like, I think let me look up Guam, because I think Guam is like really fucking far away. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, this is Guam. This is the United States. All right. I know Hawaii is pretty far out there as well, but Guam is very fucking far away. It's good. It appears closer to Taiwan and the Philippines and fucking Australia, and maybe that's what we should do. We should offload it on Australia. And that's the short version of my answer to Puerto Rico. Is we should do to Puerto Rico effectively what we did to, and probably Guam as well, is we assess the strategic value of either nation. And as far as I can tell, it's just about zip with either one. I'm not, obviously within the know, but for my assessment, it's practically nothing in terms of strategic value. And Puerto Rico, as it says right here, is a bankrupt shithole that has no means to take care of itself and now requires a total another bailout by the United States to basically not be a third world nation because of this hurricane. I'm not really sure if we kind of need this. We don't really need Puerto Rico if that's the case. If we're going to have to bail them out literally every single time they fuck their own nation. So I realize that they have U.S. citizenship, and that's a problem. And I am not a constitutional scholar to really understand the fine details of what we would mean or how this would be achieved effectively or essentially. But I would say that our best bet is to offer independence to Puerto Rico. And if you ask me, they won't take it. If given the opportunity for independence, I don't think Puerto Rico will take it. I think they'll vote to become a state because I think they're going to want that sweet federal money because they don't pay federal income taxes or federal taxes in any way. They just have U.S. citizenship and don't pay taxes. That's not fair. And if we did make them a state, they would be a net drain on the United States. They would not be a net beneficiary to our government and to our country. They would not add much to our income. They would just take from it. They would increase the fucking deficit, the budget deficit. They would increase it. So my solution is for Puerto Rico is, for this time, bail them out, fix whatever bullshit they need help, and say, okay, we're going to offer you independence. And, maybe after that point, that's when you can say, now that you are your independent nation, after, July 1st of 2019, all citizens born in Puerto Rico past July 1st of 2019 are now officially Puerto Rican citizens. They are no longer American citizens. They do not have American nationality. And that would be my fix to that, because I don't think that it's a good idea to continue kicking this can. I don't think they should become a state. Because I don't know if you've had many interactions with Puerto Ricans as I have. There are plenty of Puerto Ricans that are normal, and then there are plenty of Puerto Ricans that don't speak a word of English. And how are you a fucking American if you come from a faraway nation, you're not in any way American culturally, you don't speak the fucking language, you just have U.S. citizenship? So my immediate reaction is fix what's wrong this time, even though we have no obligation, in my opinion, based on what I understand about the issue. It's just fucking bourgeois faggots saying that we need to do this for political points, trying to make this Trump's fucking quote-unquote Krachina, even though this is Puerto Rico's fault. All right? You should have some amount of infrastructure to take care of this shit. And they completely fell apart. And now they're still without power. It's like, oh man, that's Trump's fault. No, it's Puerto Rico's fault. This is not Trump's fault. This happened all the way back in fucking September. After Sandy hit fucking New York, shit was taken care of in like a goddamn week and a half. And that was for the whole area, the whole region. There was obviously small things wrong, but we're talking about the difference of, okay, it's going to take a week to clean up versus fucking a month or so later, we still have no power in most of the country. It's like, that is something you would see out of a third world nation. And people act as though that this is an American state. The fuck it is. This is like fucking Mexico. All right? Shit, you know? So that's the thing. Like, my standard is speak the language, act American. There shouldn't be a difference in culture to such an extent that there is. And you got to be independent. You know, you have to be somewhat independent. You have to show that you can actually contribute to the United States, not be this fucking like rogue state that is still effectively a colony, but you have U.S. citizenship, which is my separation. If we have territory by which you don't have American citizenship that we control, that's a colony. But if you have American citizenship, that's not a colony. That's my distinction that I want to make. So, yeah, in my opinion, we should control the territory that provides benefit to us. We shouldn't if it's not. You know, what's the here? Let me show you on the map real quick. For any of you that disagree, let me show you Guam. So this is Guam, okay? Look where it is in the map. I know it's hard to see because it's small, but it's right here, okay? Real close to the Philippines. Right here is Palau. I actually wrote a research paper on Palau because what happened with Palau is that the Japanese invaded Palau, like they did a lot of these small-ass nations, took it over and oppressed the people living there. We took over Palau and liberated it, but also controlled it for years and years. But eventually what we did is that we granted Palau independence, and the Palau wanted independence. And we're still pretty tight-knit with Palau, both in the UN and in several ways. Not in every way because they disagree with us on environmental shit and stuff like that. So we have our differences, but I think they still use the US dollar in Palau, and they're still close to the United States because we formally controlled them after the fucking Second World War. Here's Palau. Here's Guam. You tell me the difference here. What is the difference? Is it because Palau is this close to the Philippines versus Guam when it's that close? Is that the fucking difference? So if Guam has no, you know, practical application for the United States, for our hegemony in the world, if it doesn't have any real attributing factor to us, if it doesn't benefit this nation, give it independence. Say, yep, there you go. We're going to do the same to you as we did with Palau and all the other nations we formerly controlled. There you go, independence. Be done with the issue. That when they say, oh, the colonizing U.S., blah, 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 blah. No, we don't. We don't have any colonies. No colonies. We've liberated all these nations, and all the nations that you could attribute to say that it's our territory and all this bullshit about us being an empire. Not anymore. So, yeah, I think Guam, Puerto Rico, and all the rest. The rest of the territory. I do know that some of the territory that we do have does have military application, and that we should retain specifically. But anything that doesn't suit the United States and our hegemony in this world, that does not have practical application for benefiting the United States, that is not, it's fucking all the way over here by fucking China. That's a former fucking Japanese colony. What the fuck? All right? We don't need it. All right? We don't need this fucking nation as far as I know. We don't need Palau. Palau is fine on its own. And we're still on friendly terms. If you ask me, we need more control here. 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 We need more control here because of this. This is the fucking problem. Not this. This. So we need more bases, more influence here. Here. This is where we need influence. Not here. Not way the fuck over here. We don't need fucking shit here. Cuba's not doing shit. Venezuela's fucked. Colombia, we already have bases in, I think. Brazil's a shithole anyways, but we have influence over them to some degree. You know, we don't need influence over here. Here is where we need influence. And if Guam can serve some practical application in influencing this region, fair enough. Then let's keep it. But if it doesn't, then we should be getting more control here. We should be getting more control here, more here, more here. We want to effectively have more control all around here. This is where we want bases. This is where we want influence. This is where we want control. This is where we want bases. This is where We need to contain bad entities, bad nations, nations that are extremely large, extremely powerful, and that are propagating horrific ideologies that result in the mass execution of millions of fucking people, tens of millions of people. This is the kind of nation that we should be fucking containing. If we want to have a lot of influence, this is where we need to be. We need a lot of influence in these two nations specifically, because if there ever, God forbid, there's any kind of horrific tragedy, this is where all the next refugees are going to be coming from. And I'll be goddamned if Europe gets a single fucking one. So maybe that's where we will end the official part of the stream, and I will go to questions and take some questions and end this. Fucking had a pop-up ad in the background. North American superstate. Oh, Jesus. No, thanks. Okay, let me go to the super chat real quick. So we got Mitch. Says, I had a good conversation with a Muslim woman where she proceeded to take off her hijab to show how different her hair was to other Africans. Unexpected. That's weird. But I guess that's a good cultural conversation to have. Graham says, Muslims have Canadians by the balls. They're so arrogant, and they play Westerners like a fiddle. That's so true. They know how to manipulate and play victim. That's absolutely true. I mean, that's what all of the whole, like, Muslim community centers and Muslim outreach groups and Muslim, all that shit's just PR. It's all PR. Bazinski says where they stand on the border wall, some in Mexico, some in the USA. I'm not too sure what you mean by that, Brzezinski, but thanks for, I think that's like rubles. I'm pretty sure that's like nothing. Tim, who's a conservative, says they may not be closeted leftists, but they are a corrupt establishment cucks as any other swamp thing in the shithole that is DC. Fair enough, Tim. But like, again, like, yeah, like I said, it's something that annoys me about conservatives. If you're still even here, Tim, because this is a while back. But it's just I see a lot of conservatives do that, and it's why I made it such a point. Is that like it's just this knee jerk. It's like if I can compare it, and I'm sure as a conservative you won't like this comparison, but it's what a lot of progressives do. Like if I start saying, well, black people need to take responsibility for what they do in their lives, it's like, oh, you're a racist. And I just see that kind of knee-jerk reaction from conservatives about other conservatives. It's like, yeah, I think that I need to suck the dick of a corporation. Leftist? It's like, how the fuck did you reach that conclusion? Like, it makes no sense. Yeah, let me, hold on, I need to quote some Milton Friedman. Fucking leftist? What? Nixon, that fucking leftist with fucking normalized trade relations with China. Fucking leftist. Brazilian reallys? Are you from Brazil? I'm sorry if that's the case, because I just called Brazil a shithole. I don't know if I can, I may back that up just to say, man, because I saw an article recently that was like, yeah, by the way, the boom town or the boom times that we're having in Brazil is over. It's fucked. And I'm not sure to what extent that's true, but I was just told that the good times are over in Brazil. And I understand that probably is a lot of bad shit then, because Brazil is really fucked up. Sorry if that's the case, man. Like, I'm not trying to shit on your country, and I'm sure you're aware of the fact that your country's fucked up. But I read that in an article that you're going into a recession, effectively. So Tim says also in Super Chat, the cheap labor thing is also something of a red herring. Even people who don't work get spending money from our tax dollars, and they spend it. Yes and no. I mean, the cheap labor thing isn't really a red herring. It is true. It is something that can be defended from either a left-wing or a right-wing position, and it does impact the labor pool. I found an article, and I wish I had it. Oh, it was a fucking article about Japan. I'm gonna have to fucking dig this up. I have an article. I don't know what happened to it. I think I was going to talk about this at some point, but I found an article about Japan, and it was like, yeah, by the way, we have a real. It's like talking about we have a shortage in Japan. There's not enough workers, and wages are going up, and the corporations are struggling, and they have to make the work environment better. And it's like, holy fucking shit! Like, holy shit! Like, this is everything. This is everything that I've been saying. I don't know what happened to that article, man. I hate it. I hate the fact that now I don't know what happened to it. It was such a fucking unbelievable article that I found. Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know what happened to it. Fuck, that's going to really suck if I can't find that. Oh, man, I don't see it anywhere. I can't find it. I don't know what the fuck I did with it. I might have liked it on Twitter. Maybe that's where I kept it. I have it saved there. I'm gonna quickly Google that. Japan. Oh God, I'm trying to remember what it was called. Japan employers. Let me just look that up just to see. No, that's not it. Let me go to the news. I'm sorry to veer off like this, but I just remembered that, and it just blew my mind reading that. God damn it. Oh, man, I can't find it. God, this sucks. I'm going to have to fucking look over on Twitter or something to see if I can find this. I'll keep it in a tab just because I was ready to do a full fucking video on it because I was like, holy fucking shit. Like this is everything. Like this is the whole thing. Like Japan's economy is effectively growing, but the labor pool is low. So what's happening is that more employers are having to effectively make, like, there was a whole thing, like, I don't know if anyone saw this, but there was like a propaganda anime ad for McDonald's. That's why they're doing that. It's because they're struggling to find employees. So they're either trying to propagandize to the public or better their PR or better the work environment or raise wages. They have to do it just to find employees. I really want to find that article because it was just an amazing fucking article. I couldn't believe it. I was reading it, and it was funny too because the whole structure of the article, it may have been from Bloomberg or something, and they were like, "This is terrible. This is why Japan needs migrants and all this other shit." And it's like, holy fucking shit! Like I'm reading this, and it's just blowing my mind. It's like you have next to no immigration. You have employers struggling and having to negotiate with employees in order to even get them to take the job, and they're struggling to find employees. And you see wages increasing and the work environment, the employers saying that we have to make the work environment better. We have to offer better options. We have to pay them more in order to get employees. And it's like, Jesus Christ, this is every economic thing that I've been screaming about for years. This is everything that I've been saying. So this being a red herring is false, bro. All right, like that is not true. Immigration plays a serious role in employment. If you have a smaller labor pool, you have to offer better options in order to get employees. If everyone is struggling to find a job, you don't have to offer people shit. It makes a real difference. Mobile Crusader says, tax this, Louis Senpai. You don't have to worry. Google will do that for you. They take a percentage of everything you give to me. Bazinski says, okay, that's the Brazilian. He says, Brazil depended too much on commodities. New prices are low. They were super high back then, and we wasted too much money on frivolities or frivolities. Yeah, I mean, I can't really speak to your economy, but as far as I read, it says that you're starting to go into a recession, and like I said, it's not good. You know, my solution to Brazil is obviously not fucking socialism. Pay no attention to fucking Venezuela, bro. Okay, I mean, that's not the fucking solution. You could deal with a little bit fewer, like insane, like corrupt oligarchs, although, you know, anyone from the United States is not really one to speak, but you could do with a little bit less corruption and billionaire oligarchs, and you could do less with, and I'm not sure how true this is, but I've been told about Brazil that you have kind of like fascist militia groups going into, like paramilitary groups going into like the favela regions that are basically unpoliced. And that's true. I know that for a fact to be untrue, that there are entire parts of Brazil where there literally are no police. And basically the response to that is, well, let's send in the fascist paramilitaries to fix it. And they're also corrupt. So, yeah, like I said, I know that Brazil is not all horrific hellhole, but the stories that I hear coming out of fucking Brazil are just bonkers. It's unbelievable. I mean, that was one of the things about Max Payne 3 was that, like, that being set in Brazil and all the insane shit. I mean, I understand it's fiction, but I just, like, I thought some of it was bullshit, like the whole thing about policing, and I looked it up. I'm like, holy shit, this is true? There's entire parts of fucking Brazil that aren't policed in any way. There's no cops. There's literally no cops. That's insane. That's insane to me. You know, I can't pull out of my own driveway without being pulled over by a cop for speeding. And in Brazil, there's just no cops. And you have actual paramilitary groups. I mean, I don't know, man. That's nuts. But I mean, is it any different in other countries that have problems with policing? Not really. So Tim says, and I appreciate the support, Tim, and I appreciate you being one of the woke conservatives listening to me. I feel proud being a truly woke conservative. You have the endorsement of somebody on the left. I know for people on the right that means a lot. Who says I said something of a red herring. Both sides are true. I will say that you are largely right that obviously labor is not the only factor in economics, obviously, and you understand that too. But what I'm saying is that I swear to God, dude, I gotta find that fucking article. I have it, the search there. I'm gonna search my work laptop, and I'm gonna search my fucking inbox again to see if I can find that fucking article. Because I read through it, and I swear to God, I don't even know if I recorded something on it. I may have. I don't even know. I read through that article, and my jaw hit the fucking floor. Because it's like you have all these huge Japanese employers going like, yeah, we're going to have to raise wages. This is terrible. And the fucking leave it to the U.S. fucking journos to be like, this is a dark day in Japan. They're struggling to get employees. They're going to have to pay the employees more. They're going to have to offer them more vacation time. This is a dark day in Japan. Meanwhile, Japan's economy is doing better. And it's like, holy fucking shit. Like, holy fucking shit. This whole thing about globalization, all the rest, all this thing about trade, it's like, it's only somewhat true. The whole thing about, oh man, you know, we need to get cheap iPhones. Without cheap iPhones, the whole economy will collapse. It's like, no, it's not true. It's not true. You can have things made here, and sometimes it's just going to have to come out of the profits. Hamburgers tomorrow aren't going to be $50 billion. You know, we're not going to have hyperinflation tomorrow because that's not how our currency works. It's just going to be that employers are going to have to restructure how they hire people. And it requires several factors for that to happen. But I think that is the direction that our country needs to go into. I think that globalization as it is now has run its course and is becoming an existing danger for American citizens. These are companies and ideologues that want to subvert the U.S. Constitution and become in a sense, a super state where they have more rights than U.S. citizens. My answer is fuck the corporations. Fuck the investor class. You're the least patriotic people in the entire world. Doesn't matter what country you're from. You're the least patriotic. You don't give a fuck. You just want money. And you're not going to destroy this nation. You're not going to create some faggy super state of corporations. What's going to happen is that you're eventually going to be done with. That a lot of what has happened from globalization from the 70s to now is going to go away. That's my estimation of it, because it's not working. It's not working. It's creating a whole hell of a lot of cheap iPhones for bourgeois faggots in Seattle, but those iPhones can actually be created here. And guess what? The extra couple $100 that you charge for your brand name, just don't do that and effectively compete. There you go. Solved it for you. So yeah, that's my estimation. I don't think that I'm optimistic about that. I think that the left and the right, as divided as we are, can come together and realize that the corporations are not acting on our interest. They're acting on their own interest, and they're trying to sell us shit, but then at the same time trying to strip away our rights. They are doing that. Whether it's Silicon Valley corporations, Wall Street, anywhere. Doesn't matter what corporation. They're all trying to take away our rights and have more power than the United States. And, you know, that to me is something where, I mean, like, if you want me to go down the road of, like, you know, what pushes me into the camp of being illiberal and against civil liberties and everything else, it's like, yeah, that's the kind of thing where you're conspiring to subvert the power of the United States. It's like, yeah, okay, if you disappear tomorrow because you get assassinated by the CIA, okay. You're an existing existential threat to the United States. You want to subvert the U.S. Constitution. You're effectively campaigning to do that. You're conspiring and colluding with foreign actors to subvert the U.S. Constitution. Like the separation between you and an enemy combatant is fucking pretty thin. So, you know, you got to understand, like, this is a real thing. This is a real issue. And, like, I'm not beyond pulling the trigger. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not beyond someone being disappeared and I'm not having a problem with it. Because people got to understand that there are some legit fucking evil people out there. They're not just all drug dealers on the street corner and fucking gangbangers and whatever the fuck else. They also wear, you know, fucking ties and suits. There's some evil fucking people in this world. It's not just George Soros. There's worse people than him. Anyways, Will May says, I hate to be that guy, but what did you think about the Sargon-Thomas debate? It was funny, but has anyone looked into the studies Tom brought up? So, as far as I know, the studies that Tom brought up, I think you're talking about the blind resume sampling. That's actually true and not true. So the one thing that he could say is actually true was the concert study that he brought up, where they put a screen in front of judges so that they couldn't see the player, and then they would have the player, the musician, perform, and then they would grade the performer. That actually became more egalitarian effectively in that one study. It's not true. It's just one study. So you can't prove it true from one study. But that study did come out in the affirmative that by doing blind screening, it actually benefited specifically women performers. The other one that he used on the resume shit has been, I haven't seen direct proof that it's false, but I have seen it questioned. So the resume being, like, if you put down Lawanda fucking whatever the fuck, like a black sounding name, that those resumes were pushed away better or more often than white names. There's been questioning to whether that study specifically, and I think there was another study similar to it, both were questioned to the legitimacy and the whether they could be replicated or not. And they couldn't actually show that they could be replicated as far as I know. So that puts a big question to those studies, whether they're true or not. And those are the ones that he cited. But I saw a lot of people say afterwards that one of the things that he didn't cite was there was, I believe, a study from Australia where they wanted to implement diversity hiring through blind hiring. So they basically made hiring based on no names, but just the resume. So you didn't know if they were male or female. They just went by the credentials on the resume. And it came back insanely in favor of men. So that is one study that shows that the blind resume shit can actually result in heavily in favor of men and do the exact opposite of what they intended. And they actually turned that into a policy that they wound up stopping because it was unfortunately too effective in promoting meritocracy, resulting in too many men being hired rather than women. So had to get rid of that. So yeah, the whole thing about him discussing that is Sargon's issue is that he wasn't aware of it. But it's like, you know, I only know this because I used to be within, I wasn't a progressive, but I was in progressive circles. I used to watch the Young Turks. I still watch Jimmy Dore to some extent, even though he's impossible sometimes. I watched fucking Kyle Kulinski for years. You don't think he's talked about those studies before? Those were just progressive talking points. I've heard these studies before. I've looked into them to the extent that I have. There's not much behind them because one study doesn't prove anything. If you have conclusive fucking study after study after study after study coming to the same conclusion, then you can take some merit that maybe it's actually to some degree true, or at least something that can be replicated. That shows that there is some credibility to the actual research. The problem is that if it's from social sciences, who fucking knows, man? It could be total horseshit. Because of that one study done on, or that whatever the meta study, whatever the fuck it's called, where they look into a whole shitload of studies, and that was what they did is they tried to see how many of these thousands of studies were could be replicated, and practically none of them could. And so what that does is it takes all of that research and puts it into immediate question whether any of it's true. So one of the big things about studies is that anything related to the social sciences, or anything with a tinge of politics, such as hiring women and diversity and shit, which is political. You can't pretend it isn't. It could be total bullshit. You don't know. Replicate it a few times, then I'll lean towards it and say maybe there's some serious credibility to it. The issue is that if you're going to assert something, I do often, and say that it's true, not just that it's an opinion of mine. If you're going to say X is true and it's based on studies, you have to show them, and you have to show that this study has been repeated, or that it's something that is a commonality, and that it either is and what I often do is I use studies to contradict other studies. So if somebody says, I have a study that says X, it's like, yeah, okay, well, I have a study that says Y. So how do you know you're right and I'm wrong? How do you know? If we have two studies and both are equally valid as far as we know, how do we know what's right? How do we know what's true? How do we know how to act? Because often people will use studies to say that we should do something, and it's often illiberal. I don't know if anyone's noticed that. There's a lot of fucking people that will say, well, I got a study that says whatever the fuck from some fucking hack Marxist, so we need to just get rid of capitalism. You know, obviously an exaggeration, but not much. So studies oftentimes don't mean shit outside of argumentation, which is why Thomas cited them. It was for argumentation's sake. Thankfully, Sargon is infinitely smarter than Tom, and outmaneuvered him throughout the fucking debate and embarrassed him. And Thomas went on to embarrass himself over and over again. And I saw people saying, "Oh, I want to reach out to Tom. I want to talk to Tom." It's like, yeah, well, why don't you talk to Destiny too? Because they're equally fucking retarded. The guy embarrassed himself, and he also insulted Sargon over and over and over again, and I don't appreciate that. I think Tom is a fucking piece of shit, and if he was dead tomorrow, I wouldn't give a shit. Because of his actions and because of what he does, he's effectively my enemy, and I didn't do anything to him. You know, guy sits down on the stage with Sargon, does nothing but shit on him the whole fucking time. And this is the thing, right? I started this by complaining about people being nice. It's like the guy was nothing but an absolute fucking asshole to Sargon the whole goddamn time. I mean, the fact that, especially at the end, where he goes, oh, 245 or whatever the fuck he says, and just walks off. You know, it's like, if anyone ever fucking treated me like that, ever fucking, and this is, I think I said to Sargon, I would never tolerate that. I would never fucking tolerate someone treating me like that. I would say it to their face that they are like, they want to get on my case about how I treat other people, which he did throughout that whole fucking debate, the quote unquote debate. It's like, you know, you're sitting here acting as though that I'm some repugnant odor that you're in the presence of. And especially if I was in Sargon's position where I thoroughly fucking defeated him, my whole thing, it would have been like, especially when he walked off, it's like, no, you should be thankful that I graced you with my presence. You are the fucking scumbag. You are the rude fucker. You're the asshole that walks on the stage and starts accusing people of things, berates the audience, and can't have the fucking common courtesy to anyone. You're the asshole. You are the fucking asshole. And if you want to walk away, that's fine. But guess what? I have fucking 10 times, 100 times your goddamn audience. So guess what? The only time you're going to have any kind of relevance to fucking anybody is when you're on a stage with me. And if you want to act like an asshole towards me, that's fine. I'll never interact with you again. And you can continue to go back to irrelevance. I would have fucking berated that guy. I would have dressed him down in front of everybody and embarrassed him to even further, more so than he did to himself. And I understand the position of, obviously, you want to act as the moral superior. You want to act as the superior in that you don't want to sink to his level and the rest. But it's like, I cannot stand seeing people treated like that. I cannot fucking stand it. When you just have somebody on a stage just again, like, just watch that debate. If you don't know, like, go watch the Thomas Smith Sargon debate, which Sargon uploaded to his channel. Like, I watched it twice because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a video on it or not, but I completely decided against it the second time I watched it. It's like, I don't want anyone knowing this fucking guy's name. The fact that anyone wants to communicate with this guy is unbelievable. It's like, this guy is not smart. He does not raise good points. He is a fucking asshole. And he will slander you at a moment's notice. Why would you have anything to do with him after this? Why would anyone want to talk to this guy in any way? Because you think you're going to change that fucking asshole's mind? No way. Not in a million years. How you, in my opinion, effectively deal with people like that, you call out them for what they are, you dress them down. And in my thing, I would have done it to his fucking face. I would have done it to his fucking face. And if we would have, gotten aggressive with me, I would have gotten aggressive right back with him. I have no qualms about becoming aggressive with another person. Nothing, especially if it's somebody like him. Someone who is unequivocally my ideological opponent. You know, you don't think that I'll become aggressive with you. You're on another fucking plane of reality if that's what you believe. And, it's that guy's thing. And I understand that some of what he was doing was bait. But by the end of it, it wasn't. It's just that guy's attitude. That's how he treats people he doesn't like Sargon. That's how he treats them. And thinks he's in my fucking moral superior. Thinks he's morally fucking superior to me. That's how he fucking treats people. I'm totally fine with how Sargon conducted himself, how he acted in that quote-unquote debate and everything, because obviously he wants to go back to MythCon. And if he would have done effectively what I would have done, he may have not have been invited back. And to me, it wouldn't have mattered. You know, I don't think whether they invite him back or not, to me, is irrelevant. You know what I mean? Like, nobody shows the growth of somebody like Sargon. None of these fucking assholes that are dangling around his fucking ankles, nipping at him, all this bullshit, none of them show any kind of growth anywhere near close to him. So they're all irrelevant. Who gives a shit? You think I'm a bad person? You want to say X, Y, and Z? Who fucking cares? You're irrelevant. You're on your way out. You're part of an ideology that I use in an analogy in a video that I'll eventually get to uploading, where you're the plane in Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, for those of you who remember that, where you're out of gas and the engines are sputtering out and the plane's going into a free fall. That's you. That's your ideology. It's the engines are about to go out. This whole Harvey Weinstein thing is your engines. It's part of your engines going out, you having no more propulsion, and you free falling. That's what's about to happen. That is on the cusp of happening. If things continue to go down the road that they're going, the way things are going right now, that's coming soon, where the propulsion is finally going to go out of progressives, and you're going to start to see corporations, institutions, big name people walking away ever so slowly, going like, "Ugh, yeah, this sounds like a losing team to me. This sounds like the losing horse to me. I don't think this is worth pandering to anymore." And you can see them backing away, and that's when you know the propulsion is gone, and now progressivism as a movement is in free fall. And sooner or later, it's going to hit the ground. And you know, I'll I'm not religious. I'm an atheist, but I will say I will be on my knees thanking Christ, Christ Almighty, when that day comes. I'm waiting for the day that we hit the reset button on the left. Waited with bated breath for the day we reset the left, when we begin again. And you know, I don't like at that point when the progressives come groveling back. Maybe then. Maybe that's when I'll say, okay, here's the fucking things you need to agree to. You need to agree with that capitalism is not your enemy. You're not socialist. You are not looking to undermine individual rights. You're in favor of citizenship and everything else. Just go down the line. You're not collectivist. You're individualistic. You're nationalistic. You're not globalistic. You're not just a sycophant for fucking Wall Street and all the rest, which many progressives are. You know, you're not going to you're going to drop all the race bullshit. There's going to be certain principles and certain stipulations in order to be accepted in my position of the left once the reboot happens. That needs to be laid out. What the bottom line is. All the race shit, all the collectivist shit, all of it needs to go. Because none of it worked. Guess what? It's not only a shit ideology and is awful and derivative Marxist bullshit and is completely against every value in the Western world, but also you don't win elections. That's number one and number two. Completely against every fucking Western value, every Western principle, every Western tradition. Completely against it. Antithetical to it. And two, you don't win elections. So any of the shit you agree with, it's gone. Not hearing it anymore. Not one word of it. It's not winning elections, and it's not agreeing with Western tradition. So what's the fucking point of listening to you? What's the fucking point? Anyways, got off track. Undoomed says for $2. So have you heard anything juicy about NeoGAF? I've heard that it's collapsing, but that's about it. I know, or maybe did he? No, he did a stream on it. I was hoping Mr. Medicare would do a video on it. He did a stream. I'm not really a big fan of his streams. I wish he would have just done a video on it and mocked it. I don't really care much about NeoGAF. I had everyone in the world telling me, oh, it's so influential and everything else. It's like, I don't give a fuck about NeoGAF. You know, it's just another fucking male feminist turned accused harasser, you know, abuser of women. I recorded a commentary as I was out for a walk earlier. I'm not really sure if I'll upload that or not because it didn't come out very well for the audio. Maybe I will. I'll take a look into it tomorrow. So Will May says again, The other study was about black versus white, no consent search. I emailed him for links last week, but he hasn't responded. I wouldn't expect any. As far as I know, that is actually another progressive talking point, and I think it was based out of whatever it was called, the New York City stop and frisk. I think they said that it specifically targeted black men, but they had a bigger hit rate on whites for cocaine, I think it was. But if you look at the numbers, I can't remember if this is true or not, but I think they had a higher hit rate for illegal firearms, especially on blacks. And that was one of the real reasons they were doing it, as far as I know, was they were looking for illegal firearms. And like I said, don't quote me on that, but I'm not an expert on that policy and whether it worked or didn't work. But I believe the stop and frisk research on New York City was what he was citing. I don't know for sure, but studies only mean as much as that you can actually show that you are better without them than with them. However, I would say that if certain police policies don't fit within the boundaries of what they are allowed to do and what they have the authority to do without the consent of a judge, then they shouldn't be doing them. If what you're doing requires a judge's allowance or authority to conduct, then you shouldn't be doing it without that. And there are some questions as it relates to what the police do, as to whether they actually have the authority to do it. But outside of that, if they do have the authority to do it, then that's it. It's just a matter of what's the effect. Okay, so let's get to the comment section here. Okay, so I will take a few questions and then we're gonna have to close this out because I've been streaming for quite a while. I went way longer than I really should have. You played Type Moon VN before? Doesn't sound familiar. Why didn't you watch some Rick and Morty? Raise your IQ, then read Dan Harmon's Twitter to understand the brilliance and nuance of Chinnick, Soros, and Kyle. It's Kyle Kalinske. He's being, yeah. Oh, it's Pickle Rick. Okay, no wonder why you're asking about it. Cat girl pill already? No, I've already. If you're talking about how I've said that I don't like cat girls because it's like agreeing to have sex with a mentally defective human. No, I'm not gonna back off of that. I'll admit that there are like cat girls that are cute, and I have tweeted out images of cat girls. But like, if you ever play like the Nico Para, they're really graphic, and every single one of the cat girls comes off as mentally deficient, and I'm just not into it. Like, I understand that they want to portray certain girls like as bubbly and stuff, but even like the tsundere and the rest of the girls, like they all come off as just not intellectually on par with the protagonist. And I'm just not into it. I've already explained this in the past. I don't like the cat girl thing. There are cat girls where it's not portrayed that way, and maybe that's fine. But the ones where that portray cat girls as like effectively kids with like mental retardation and shit, like I just can't get past it. Timothy Riggs says that he tweeted me an article from CNN. I don't think it was from CNN, but I'll take a look. If it is one, dude, I'll owe you a lot of thanks. Because I'll be beating myself up if I can't fucking find it. This isn't it, but what I'm going to do, man, is I'm going to save this and read it later. Don't play. Fucking... God... fucking CNN and their goddamn fucking videos. Yeah, this isn't the... I appreciate the help, but it's not the article. I'll have to dig it up. Let's see here. Somebody else, Captain Carr sent me this. GOP lawmakers question Air Force about units' ties to defense firm. 2 Republican lawmakers questioned the Air Force's top civilian officer on Wednesday about alleged improprieties in the way that it acquires multi-million-dollar aircraft. Well, that's good. It's good to see that there are some Republicans that have problems with this. Who is it? It looks like it's a female. No, it's not actually. It's Representatives Ted Budd and Walter Jones. Both are from North Carolina. L3. That sounds familiar. That group sounds familiar. Yeah. Yeah, this is nothing new. I'll save this. I'll take a look at this article later. But yeah, it's always scummy as shit. Always scummy as shit. All right. Yeah, I'll have to dig up that article later, but I swear to God I want to find it because I was reading through it and I just had both my hands on my head as I was reading while I was working, and I was like, I had both my hands on my head. I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Oh, it blew my mind. You're mentally defective if you don't. Thanks. Is that Taco Liquor that said that? If you're mentally defective if you don't fuck cat girls. I'm not into it. I'm not into it, man. Just not. I've already answered the Type Moon VN. I don't know what type. I'll fucking Google it. I don't know Type Moon. It doesn't sound familiar. Okay, so there's a whole shitload of them. Oh, this is the Fate / shit. No, I haven't played any of this. So the answer is no. I don't really have too much time to be playing. How's my blood pressure? I don't know. I'm not a physician. I'm pretty sure it's probably higher than it was before I started it. What's funny was that I drank a good sized glass of fucking Jim Beam before I did this shit. So you figure I'd be calmer, but I'm not. Doki Doki Literature Club. The name sounds familiar. That sounds like it's on Steam. Let me Google that. Oh, I think maybe I have. No, this is yeah, this is the one that I saw fucking what's his face Appabend talk about, that it's a horror game in disguise. So no, I've heard of this, but I haven't played it. But that's what I've been told, is that it's a horror game in disguise. I actually kickstarted Mov Love on Kickstarter, but I haven't played it. I'm trying to remember I don't even know what the last visual novel I played is. I know I played something not all that long ago, but it must have been something not exactly it. Oh, I got Tokyo. It's funny because I got Tokyo Dark, which is that one I kickstarted. I got it to work one day and I played it for hours, and it's pretty bleh. It's not very good. There's a lot of fucking progressive bullshit in it, which is what happens when you fucking send a white woman to Japan. There's so much progressive fucking like whinging. Oh my god, fucking there's maids in Japan. Ugh. It's just like Jesus Christ. Why? I love Japan. I love Japan so much. I just want to completely comport their culture to mine. That's how much I love Japan. I just want them to reflect my culture exactly. That's how much I love their country. Yeah. So Tokyo Dark, not recommended. I have played Steins Gate. I did like Steins Gate. Not perfect, but I did like it. I actually think I own a hard copy of it. So much I liked it. So I did like it. The big the one that I really liked, which I was actually surprised by that I liked, was oh god, what is it? Euphoria. That one was pretty fucking crazy. And I figured it would be like whatever it's called, the Nookridge, whatever those are called, where it's just like jerk off visual novel, but it's got like a ton of crazy shit in it too. And it's pretty funny because the whole thing about like the fetish shit and your character is like crazy and is like a sadist. It completely subverts all of that. It's pretty crazy. It's like, wow, like it went off at an angle where like your character is getting increasingly sadistic, but then it just all falls apart. And the character pretty much has to realize like, wow, I'm just so fucked up. And he just can't get off to it anymore. And it's really fun to go through and just watch. So that was actually pretty interesting of one. I know there's another one recently that I played. Where is it? I never finished Chrono Clock. There's another one that I kickstarted, and there might be a few that I play. Yeah, I played Euphoria. I played it. I did the whole thing. I got the true end to Euphoria, which you have to play it multiple times in order to get. So it's pretty long too. What would you say to someone that thinks the progressive SJW thing isn't a real issue in society? I would just tell them that, you know, you have to understand that these people are attempting to, well, they aren't just attempting, like they're influencing multiple industries, and everything they do is terrible. You know, I'd ask them, like, do you like sports? Do you like movies? Do you like comics? Do you like video games? Like, is there any aspect of culture that you're interested in? Because these people are trying to infiltrate it if they haven't already, and they're just destroying it. Because the only thing they care about is their own fucking ideological ends, and every fucking vehicle that you could possibly care about that might be a hobby to you or an interest to you, they will take advantage of it in order to propagate their own ideology. And they will destroy what you like in the process. They've done it everywhere that they've been. Atheism, comics, everywhere. Every single place they've ever infiltrated and taken over, they've destroyed. And if you have anything that you enjoy, you want to escape to, even if it's sports, they will attempt to co-opt it and destroy it for ideological ends. And that would be my answer to them. Self-interest. You know, everyone has an escape. And they always try to fuck it. People are obsessing about fucking Pickle Rick and Rick and Morty. Did you like Saya no Ada? I know you spoke of School Days, and I don't remember any opinions on it. Let me Google that because that doesn't sound familiar. I think I questioned whether I wanted to buy this, but I think I didn't buy it. Is this the kinetic novel? Like most of the novels I avoid are kinetic novels, which is where there's no choice involved. I usually avoid those. I don't remember, man. Probably not. If I recognize it immediately, but I'm not too sure if I played it. Yeah, if you want to look up a fucking serious visual novel, bro, look up Euphoria. I mean, it doesn't like there's no incest fucking fetish in it, but there's pretty much everything else, like scat, everything you could possibly think of. It's fucking brutal. It's a fucking brutal visual novel. But yeah. I don't. Somebody, Derek just said play whatever for kinetic visual novel. Goodness, I don't like kinetic novels. That's what I'm saying. I don't like kinetic novels. Pickle Rick is like advertising himself in the fucking chat. What's funny is I would say that I just saw Humble Degenerate say he's going to look it up. Make sure, one, use my affiliate link. Two, be forewarned, man. That one game is probably near the most fucking extreme visual novel I've ever gone through. It may be like near the most extreme. So be prepared for that. There's definitely way more extreme ones than that I haven't purchased, but that one is pretty fucking crazy. What was I gonna say? It may have been about visual novels. I don't remember. Oh yeah, it was that one that I bought. They even included a new ending to it for whatever reason. The one where it had incest, it was called Love Ribbon, and it's on Steam. They added entire after story, which I still have to beat that. I still have it installed on Steam. He's got to complete it. It is I believe it's kinetic, which sucks. I don't like kinetic visual novels. I don't like visual novels that where it's just, you might as well just put it on autoplay and the choices have no impact at all. And if you choose something outside of what you should choose, the game ends. And it's like, okay, well, that's fucking stupid. If there's just one ending, then, and it is true for Euphoria that there actually is one true ending to it, but it's structured in a way that it actually, like, the whole thing with like subverting tropes and all that, that's actually what it does, is that the true ending is actually the true ending, and that you can see all these different endings, but they're actually all practically bad endings. And the only way to actually win the game is to do everything that you have to get to the true end. So it's actually a bit, it's weird. It's like a fetish game that they tried to make very highbrow. So it's I don't necessarily want to say deep because the ending is kind of but it definitely tries. So I'll give it credit. But Love Ribbon on Steam is a pure Syscon Yuri game where you have two blood-related sisters that move. They're going to the same college, I think it is, and they move into the same dorm or whatever, rented apartment, because their family sticks them together. And what their family wants to do is try to reunite them as sisters. And at first, they don't know whether they actually are blood related or not. And they begin a relationship. And I'm trying to remember how far they go before they actually find out. But I can't remember I think they have sex. And then the one sister wants to find out if they're actually blood related or not. And the protagonist basically doesn't care. And once they both find out that they actually are blood related, the one sister flips out and leaves and is really afraid that the family is going to find out. And the family does find out. And if I remember correctly, and I didn't finish it, the family disowns them for being in an incestuous, also lesbian relationship. So, yeah. I didn't finish it, and they added an actual update for the ending. But it's not very lewd because it's on Steam. But I mean, like just to say, it's a incestuous Yuri fetish game that is on Steam. That's why I mentioned it. What questions are you asking, Taco? People are bowing out. They're like, yeah, okay, I'm done. I'm done with this stream. I'm done. Good night. All right, so we'll finish this out because I actually have to finish a report and go to bed. I agree. No loot, 0 out of 10. I agree. Where can I buy Euphoria? I'm trying to remember where I got it. I fucking don't remember. It may have been Jest. Maybe not. Actually, it may have not have been. I know you can find it on Manga Gamer. I'm pretty sure. Let me type it in. EU. Yeah, you can get it on. You can get a hard copy or a download on Manga Gamer. Maybe not on. I was about to say Nutaku. Maybe not on Nutaku. I would just say go with Manga Gamer. I don't have an affiliate link for that, just offhand. You should do a guide to these different kind of visual novels. I'm not as like fucking autistic about them as so many other people are. Like there's a lot of and the other thing is too, I wade through a lot of mediocre shit. Like there's just so many visual novels that I've gone through that are just so fucking mediocre, and it's just like, wow, this is kind of a waste of time. So I don't really come out that strong. You know, I have my favorites in that, and there are ones that I played that I really like. But I have to say, it has been quite a while since I've played one that I've really liked. You know, I if you want to count Persona, the Persona 5, which I haven't finished, is pretty good. There's a recommendation. Oh, it is on J-List? Euphoria is on J-List? Let me, I should probably have searched before I said fucking Manga Gamer. This is me being a shitty fucking salesman. Oh, fuck. Spelled it wrong. Ah. Oh, it is. It is on fucking J-List. Shit. Well, I guess I shouldn't have said that it was on Mega Gamer. Use my affiliate link and go to fucking J-List if you want to buy it. Don't go to fucking Mega Gamer. Is this a what is this? Oh, it's a Yuri manga. That's right here. There's actually a couple Yuri translated mangas that are on Amazon that maybe I'll buy at some point. Am I a lad? Probably not. Make Japan the 51st state. Oh, that's hilarious. That would be amazing. That would be an amazing. I don't think Japan would ever do it. I'm pretty sure if we made Japan the 51st state, that would basically be after we go to war with them again and conquer them. Maybe that's when they become the 51st state, but I don't think they'd ever volunteer to become the 51st state. Korea either. I don't think they'd ever go for it. Don't listen to Taco Liquor. If you want me to answer your fucking questions, Taco Liquor, you better not start directing people away from my fucking affiliate links. That's how you're going to get banned. You can come into chat and say, you know, the Jews did 9/11 and fuck niggers and shit, but you start directing people away from my affiliate links, that's a bannable offense, all right? All right, let's get a couple of questions and let's finish this up. I knew eventually the chat would catch up with that. All right, so let's get a couple questions. Let's get a couple questions and we'll finish this up. Was Roosevelt right in smashing corporations and monopolies, or do you think that American politics was at its height in real value in the first decade of the 1900s? I would say that Roosevelt isn't the only time. The administration isn't the only time that there was busting of trust. It happened in the Truman administration as well. There was a lot of trust busting then as well, and I actually think it happened in the Eisenhower administration too. So it's not uncommon for the government in the past times to have busted trusts and to have eliminated corporations that have grown too large and out of control. They also didn't have globalization back then. It was just American corporations. So it wasn't that big of an issue even then when they were insanely large corporations. It's only now where we have fucking, you know, Alphabet, which owns everything, and then you have on the opposite end Apple, which owns everything related to phones, and you have 5 or 4 fucking mobile carriers and everything else. I mean, it is way worse now than it ever was then in terms of monopolies. Way worse now. But the problem is that the difference between now and then was having a bought Congress. You know, like, and the thing is that, like, I don't really know who I'm supposed to argue with about this. Do I argue this with the progressives that are lining their pockets with Silicon Valley dollars that don't really care? Or do I go to Ben Shapiro so he can tell me about how, you know, bribery is free speech? You know, where do I go? Who do I talk about corruption? Because whose fucking Justice Department is going to break up these companies? You know, you just have people coming in with briefcases full of money saying, hey, by the way, you're guaranteed to be reelected. It's like, fuck, okay. You know, our system is so fucked up that it's like we don't really have the means to break up the corporations. Somebody said the Gilded Age opened the crony capitalism era with the railroads. It's not there's been some serious problems with rich people and quote unquote entrepreneurs, but like barons, you could say. It's been quite a problem for the extent of the history of the United States. The issue is that as time has gone on, they've gained more and more and more power. And the direct corruption that you'd see in the past has now been completely legalized. Like, you can just pay shit into a foundation, or you can give people kickbacks through giving their son a job or their daughter a job at MSNBC or NBC for $600,000 a year. You know, there's a million different ways to get around the laws. And you have an entire bourgeois establishment that will never, ever call it out. Ever, ever call it out. Because they're part of it. So, unfortunately, like corruption is so endemic, and I use the word specifically because it's part and parcel of the systems, of the institutions. They're so fucking corrupt that, like, I cannot actually give you a practical solution. I can't give you a solution as to how we fix this. I just know that with the progressives, they don't really offer much anymore. You know, the whole constitutional amendment about public funding, I don't really know to what effect that can actually be done. And I know that there are a lot of conservatives, at least talking heads for conservatives, that reject the idea of corruption even being a thing. That it's, I mean, I can only quote you Ben Shapiro because I listened to him go on just a tirade about the issue, and it's like listening to somebody who is defending ISIS who's about to chop off his head. It's like listening to that kind of guy. It's like listening to fucking Mitt Romney tell me about how corporations are people too. It's that insane. And it's like, I don't know how to even begin with you, because it's like I know I will never fucking convince you. I know I'll never fucking convince you. So, like, what am I supposed to do here? I can't really provide you with a link on that, but I've listened to more than one point where Ben Shapiro went on about money in politics, as it said, and he went on to say that it's like, listen, money in politics is a good thing. What we need is more money in politics. It's just like, that's fucking insane. That's fucking, like, the elections now are more bloated and overdone than ever before, and we're more corrupt than ever before. The corruption in this country is everywhere, and it's out of control. And everyone's corrupt. Everyone is corrupt. Standard Democrat, corrupt. Standard Progressive, corrupt. Standard GOP, corrupt. Standard Outsider GOP, corrupt. Everyone's fucking corrupt. And it's like, you know, the solution to that is more money. That's the solution. Thanks, Ben. That's great. All right, we'll get one more question. Then we'll end this. Ran about Boogie. Well, so Timothy says that a piece of the solution to the corruption and graft is cutting off the balls of power of the government. Well, the issue is, man, that in a certain respect, you're right. But the problem is, well, it's twofold. One, the government is always going to have to regulate particular sectors. So if you have massive corporations where a single tweak in the law could save them billions of dollars or cost their competitors, which are also massive corporations, billions of dollars, they'll do it. They'll just do it. So one of the things that has to go are the multi-billion-dollar massive multinational conglomerates. They have to go. So long as they exist, they will just buy the politics because it is in their interest to do so. That's something that has to stop. So many of the corporations that are in this country, I mean, it's just, you could go down a list of the defense contractors, practically all of them, all of the cereal companies, the telecom companies, just go down, the food manufacturers, the paper manufacturers, just go down the list. Everyone. They're huge. They're in several countries. Like, they employ hundreds of thousands of people. Like, they're too big. They're too big. And any kind of tweak that they can buy in Congress can directly negatively impact their competitors. And so long as they have that interest, it'll always be there. So there's no, again, there's like, those things will always exist. The only way to get rid of that is to get rid of Congress, to take away the ability for Congress to regulate the market in any way, which can't happen. There's never going to be a point in time where our market, the free market, so to say, the private sector is going to be totally devoid of regulation. That will not exist. So I understand your point, and you're not wrong, but the problem is that I don't think that's ever going to fucking go away. I think corporations are always going to be seeking to use government in their favor. And the problem is that they can go free speech their local politician and just get that law passed. And there's nothing stopping them. The other part of that is a part I forgot. I was going to say, solution to corruption and graft is cutting the balls off of the power of government. Oh, second point. Okay. Let's say that, like in Australia, their government, as far as I know, regulates games. So they get to use the power of government to say which games go on the market and which games don't. Here in the United States, we have the ESRB. The ESRB gets to tell which companies whether their game is going to go on Steam, on the PlayStation Store, on Xbox, sell millions of copies potentially, or not. Because Steam is practically the entire PC market. Xbox One is obviously for Xbox. PlayStation is obviously for PlayStation. Nintendo with whatever the fuck they're working on. So that's four big markets. ESRB gets to say what goes on every single one of those markets, with the exception of recently on Steam. Steam is becoming better, but the other three are terrible. Okay? The ESRB is not the government. The ESRB is a private organization. The ESRB is funded directly by those corporations, the gaming corporations. They charge insane fees for when they rate games to enter the market. So they're a gatekeeper. They charge those fees. There's, by the way, in my opinion, no reason why they're so high. There's a reason why they're high, I can tell you. It's to keep the indies out of the market, so that way you only see the shit that's shoveled out by EA and other such corporations. But outside of that, and the fact that they are directly funded from the gaming corporations themselves, the hugest ones, the largest ones, there's also the fact that there's no getting rid of them. Because how do you get rid of them? I can tell you how we can deal with certain government regulations and how we can maybe try to curb some of the corruption in government. How do you get rid of the ESRB? And that's not me being mean to you, Tim. I'm not asking you this maliciously. I'm genuinely asking you this. The ESRB is a gatekeeper set up by the largest companies in the industry to intentionally keep out competition and hypocritically and unethically just rubber stamp certain games that violate their terms. Grand Theft Auto 5, in multiple ways, should have gotten an adult-only rating. I will say right up front, as all of you know, I really like Grand Theft Auto 5. I think Grand Theft Auto 5 is one of the best games ever made. It should have had an adult-only rating. The reason it didn't have an adult-only rating is because Take-Two directly financially contributes and is a direct donor to, not just fees, a direct donor to the ESRB. That is why they did not have, and it never stood a chance of getting an adult-only rating. It's because that entity exists because of Take-Two. They're one of the largest fucking publishers in the industry. The ESRB is not going to fuck around with them when they're directly responsible for them existing. The ESRB is an entirely corrupt organization that has very recently adopted progressive politics. And Tim, you and I are in the same boat together. I have no fucking idea how we would get rid of it. Because there's no reforming that kind of entity. There is no reforming. None at all. it's going to stay how it is, if not get worse. So what do we do? And I got no answer for you, man. So that would be my response to you about government. So you say in response, the ESRB doesn't actually control what goes on the market. You are incorrect. It rates games. It's the fact that the market refuses to sell A-rated games because the moral outrage. You're wrong. You're wrong, man. They set this up. The industry set this up. If they wanted to tomorrow, they could get rid of the fucking adult-only rating. But they don't do it. Why? Because that's the fucking that's the guillotine that they hold over the head of any developer that does not pay them. If you don't pay them, and if you push the bounds of the social norms and of what they see are willing to accept, the guillotine comes down, and you just wasted potentially tens of thousands of dollars, and you are banned from Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam. Almost effectively. Origin, yes. Uplay, yes. The other ones, yes. Yeah, they can sell it, but they don't. They don't. So you're looking past the point. No, dude, you got it fucking backwards, man. It's their willingness to bow down. No, it's not. It's because, dude, they're the ESRB. They are the ESRB. There's no distinction between the major corporations and the ESRB. They are one and the same. It's the same thing. Yes, why would they do it? Why would they do it? If you did do that, it would give more competition. It would increase competition for the publishers. Why would they ever do that? What incentive do the major corporations have to ever create more competition in the market? Yeah, how many? Okay, you're talking about the retailers, Walmart, and how many other companies? And they're not going to do it either. They're not going to do it. Like, again, it's a practical question. How do you solve that? Yeah, it'd be nice if they didn't adopt. If they adapted some other kind of interest or policy. Okay, well then that leaves everything else. You know, they're not going to do it. It's a question of the only way that you would help the ESRB or defang it would be to remove the adult-only rating. That's the only way. That's the only thing you can do with the ESRB to actually reform it to where it can no longer directly damage the indie market. Where it then is, and I'll tell you this, I guarantee you this. I would bet you every penny that I have saved that the day the ESRB pulls the AL rating is the fucking day that every major fucking corporation that currently backs it pulls out. Guarantee you that happens. Because what's the point of backing them then? You just lost your motive for backing them. It was the whole reason the ESRB came into place was one, to placate Congress to prevent them from setting up their own, which is stupid anyways. You could have just had the legitimacy of the government and bribed them anyways. To me, the whole thing with the danger of government regulation, they really didn't see the writing on the wall, and that it's like, okay, just free speech them. Free speech Congress, and then you can get all the games you want. You know, government regulation is just how much you pay the fucking the politicians. That's how you deal with regulation. So I think you're not approaching the ESRB from the right angle, and you're not understanding that the ESRB is not some foreign fucking agency that has nothing to do with the gaming industry. No, these people are working hand in hand. I mean, who do you think finances E3? Who do you think finances E3? Do you think it's fucking the ESA? No, it's the fucking gaming industry. The gaming industry gives money to the ESA to make E3. That's why when you go to E3, it's an industry event because they're the ones funding it. So I think that as it relates to gaming specifically in the ESRB, that it's something that specifically in the private sector that can be like for as much as the government can be used. Yes, you use the word correctly, Tim. You just used the word correctly. Cartelized. Cartelized is, I'm not sure is a word, but it is a cartel. It is an effective cartel. That is what it is. You have the largest players in the industry using the ESRB as just a power chip. It's like a chip in the industry that they use in the markets. They just use it to try to snuff out certain competition. Like I said, like Grand Theft Auto, there's no one, I want to debate anyone on the issue of Grand Theft Auto 5 should not have received an AO rating when in multiple ways it violated, specifically, even as vague as they are, it violated the terms of the ESRB for what qualifies as a mature rated game. Clearly violated. No question. No cutting content, no censorship, not even the question of censorship. It was rubber stamped and never even addressed a second time. Never looked at again. And the reason why it is because Take-Two is one of the major donors. It's one of the major contributors to the ESRB. Never in a million years. Never in a million years. I mean, it's great for Rockstar. I want games to come out in the way that they should be, unmolested by fucking censors. But the fact is that not every fucking company is Rockstar. But whatever. I don't want to spend. I see your point, Tim, and I don't think that we disagree that much. But my point in raising it is that the problem is the size of certain corporations, and the fact that even if you got government out of the picture to the best of your ability, the industries themselves would immediately start to collude, and they would set something up. It would just be something that they would concoct in order to, if they can't control it through the government, they will use the private sector to do the exact same fucking thing. So I don't think that it can't be applied in every industry, but I do think that that's a glaring issue. And I think that the only thing that can be done is to seriously limit the size of the existing corporations throughout the entire world that we can directly impact, obviously, because it's only the United States, but so many corporations that do business here that you have to, like, you would have to just do a clean sweep. I mean, it would be years. It would take years to do that. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, how do you, like, the boulder has been rolled so far in one direction. Like, how would you even begin to roll it back? That would be my serious question, is that things have gone so far. Where do you even fucking begin? All right. So that's enough. My voice is starting to give out, and I got to finish a fucking report, and we have been going for a very long time. So that's all for today. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Thanks for hanging out in the chat. Thanks for donating. Let me double check. Okay, no more super chats. So I will end the stream. Thanks for stopping by. I'll try to post the links in the description quicker than last time. And I got to find that Japan article, like I said. And I also have a bunch of fucking commentaries that I got to finish up and upload. I got a whole bunch, at least 6 or more, that I have like just sitting, waiting to be edited. So I got to get to that. And I got a couple of scripts that I'm working on. So a lot going. Just need more time off from work. So thanks for stopping by, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the support. Be sure to check my affiliate links. Don't go to websites that aren't my affiliate links. Make sure you use my affiliate links. support me on Patreon. Maybe sometime I'll actually publish a video that I can charge on Patreon one day. I swear to God, it's going to happen sometime this month. Just not sure when. But until next time.